Hey,
Can you hear me?
bam, we're live. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. I think maybe yesterday was one of the best night's sleep I've had, and well, for sure as far back as I could remember.
Huh. I try to see how do you get your voice in my headphones instead of across the computer. Do you know?
There'll be something down there in settings, like do you see a gear?
Oh yeah, there it is.
And then there'll be an audio button, and then there'll be a drop down menu for speaker.
Got you. Now you're in my head.
Ah, nice. How about the mic? Is the right mic chosen too? There's an option for that too. Yeah, I think I heard you when you touched it just now with your hand. I think I heard it good.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, man.
Will you just turn that so it's just a little closer, and then can you bring it in front of your lips, mate? Yeah.
How about like that?
Yeah, even better.
Yeah. Wait till I put a chew in, then it's gonna get really exciting.
Yum, 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 yum.
How you been, man? How's the family?
Dude, so good.
What's the coolest thing that them kids of yours have done in the last 24 hours?
I just picture Avi flying through the air on a skateboard.
Right.
As soon as you said what's the coolest, I just saw kids skateboarding. You know what was cool? I have these my boys are really nice boys.
Mhm.
And they do a lot of martial arts almost 7 days a week, a different kind of shit, right? Jiu-jitsu, striking, kickboxing. And I always feel like that they're nice to the other kids. So if they're doing striking, they let the other kid totally decide the intensity. If they're rolling, they don't just go. If they mount a kid, they let the kid, practice doing a sweep and rolling over and getting on top of them. You know what I mean? They're not just like they're not there to win.
That's beautiful.
Oh, it's so fucking cool. I love it. But the other day, a lady said, hey, my 6-year-olds, who to me are just complete goofballs, right? Part Gumby, part fucking unicorn. Like I even, I'm the dad and I want to see more rock throwing and bow and arrow shooting. And to me, there's a little bit of My Little Pony in them. I'm like, you goofballs, you know what I mean? But I let it be, you know what I mean? They're just goofballs. Yeah. And this lady goes, I think she has a pretty tough son. She goes, it's a little scary having my kids in a class with your kids.
Really?
And I took a little pride in that. I was like, yeah, it should be a little scary. They're fucking lethal. You know what I mean? They've been doing this shit for 3 years, 7 days a week. But I never even imagined that, because to me, they're just fucking, they're like slinkies. You know what I mean? Just all over kind of.
That's cool.
But yeah, I like that compliment.
It's a good compliment.
It's a little scary. Yeah, it's a little scary. Yeah. When you were on the show last, by the way, thanks for doing this again.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've had this scheduled I think we scheduled it the day after we got off, or maybe the same day we got off the last one, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of time for a cool dude like you to give me. It's a lot of time.
I appreciate the compliment. It's good to talk to you. It's good to talk to you. It's good to connect.
Okay, good.
It's the conversation. I'm fascinated with the conversation and hearing your perspective, and I enjoy it. So, no, I appreciate it.
Good, thank you. In that show, I asked you when we talked, it was kind of, I was describing it yesterday on the show. I said, I wanted to talk to him about his boating adventure, rowing across the Atlantic, but really it felt, as I started talking, it felt more important to just get to know each other again. It had been probably a couple of years since you and I had sat down and talked. So it felt good just talking to you. And then one of the things I asked you in that conversation was, hey, do you prefer to be called Brian or Tosh? And you said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, it doesn't matter, but I like Tosh. And you said, but I have Dan, or you said Taco still calls me Brian.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I haven't heard that name in like 10 years. I just ran into that dude once while filming at a CrossFit gym in Seattle. And I just knew that he was some badass SEAL.
Solid dude.
Yeah. And I met his family and they were so good to me. Right. I think I was filming at their gym and just really hospitable, loving people. And then to see that he passed in between our last conversations, I was just like, holy cow, what a crazy thing.
I got a text message early in the morning on the 24th saying Dan had a heart attack and he's passed. And I was just like, holy shit. And then I started getting notes and had a phone call with one of the guys that was with him when it happened. And it just, man, it hit pretty hard.
Too young.
Yeah. I mean, he's had some health scares in the past, and lived a hard life. But man, you want to talk about a magnanimous individual, full of, which is crazy to see his shift, because he was angry like Taco. It's almost like I don't even want to call him Taco anymore. I call him Dan. Because Taco was mean and angry and violent and
interesting.
and a badass. And then he went and got some treatments and some therapies and all of that, and counselings, and he did a thing. I think it was an ayahuasca or an ibogaine adventure, and came back and like 100% different dude. Like, he wasn't swearing, he wasn't drinking, he was full of love and beauty, and he was just as lethal. And man, it reminds me of something that Jordan Peterson had said. But anyways, he was just an amazing dude, and just beautiful, full of kindness, full of generosity. You didn't cross him. Yeah, it just hit pretty hard, man. I know it rocked the world, and the family, but the SEAL community is very blessed with an incredible support structure network. The Navy SEAL Foundation and that group of individuals. I mean, you hang out with Dave, you have an idea, and so his family's gonna be really well taken care of. And Dan was pretty successful in the business world, outside of his military career. So, you think about the family. It hurts me. It hurts because I lost a friend. And but like then now my concern is about the family and making sure that they're okay. And he's got 3 wonderful children, and his daughter is in the Cirque du Soleil.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
On the production side, or on the juggling, unicycle riding flip side?
Yeah, she's playing. She's acrobatic. It was a dream of hers when she was young, and her dad was like, Taco was like, you know what? If you dream it, I'm gonna make it happen, baby girl. And she was doing the trapeze work and all. I mean, years and years of just, and he just made it possible. Everybody laughed and judged, Cirque du Soleil, and she was just in Dubai at a show, and she's on the show circuit now, and it's just so cool to see that relationship. A father, a mother, parental figures with their children. It's like, hey, if you dream it, I'm gonna help you work for it. And we're not going to do the poo-poo. Like, I think that's one of the things that's really cool about the way that you work with your children. It's just like, hey, let's explore. Let's not follow some traditional model that the world is going to tell me that my children have to do, and just encourage exploration, development of self-identity, and just give it some guidance and just play. Life is just play. Yeah, there's work in there. You got to do some work, but man, just play. I don't know.
If someone, if I were to die, I would not want anyone to spend one bit of energy on me. If I die and you need to spend energy anywhere, if you have some energy you need to give it to my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't donate a fucking cent to my tombstone. Send my kid a fucking bag of oranges.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Throw me in the fireplace at the campfire and throw a party, and then just make sure that my sons, my daughters, my wife.
And that's all probably Taco cares about too.
It is.
Right? Probably, he didn't give a shit that he's dead or alive, other than the fact of the impact it probably has on his wife and his kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's, yeah.
Yeah, I would suppose that.
Right.
That kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
He loved his family. Man, he loved his family, loved his close friends, his inner circle. He's just full of love, which was crazy. When I first met Dan, like, wow, this fucking guy, like, he eats fire, like, man. And I didn't even know him at the top of his heyday, I don't think. And I was really blessed to be with him through this transition that he made, and just so impressed with the man that he is and was and still is to me. I remember I was working a gig for him out in Idaho, and first night
guarding a high profile target, or
no, doing I was at Shaw's shooting as an instructor for him.
But he did do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a lot of personal security. He helps. Anyways, and I wasn't drinking. I had just stopped drinking. I was just kind of wrestling in my head. I was going through some highs and lows. I was kind of in a low, and I started drinking with Houston and Repo and Kate, and next thing you know, they go to bed, Houston and I, and I mean, we drank till 8 o'clock in the morning. I passed out. We went out shooting and doing, and I showed up fucking damn near drunk still and for work. And he just, whatever, just let it go. And I'm just waiting for the ass chewing, you know, and I'm embarrassed, professionally embarrassed. And all he did was, hey, Tosh, ride with me. We'll go back to for lunch. We broke for lunch. And we just pulled up onto a rise and we just talked, man. And he's like, hey, man, are you okay? I'm like, Dan, I'm so sorry. He's like, shut the fuck up, Tosh. Like, I don't care about that. Like, are you okay? Like, let's like, and man, we probably spent 45 minutes in that truck, and I'm coming to tears right now thinking about the conversation. I mean, it was that impactful for me. And I'm not gonna be all loud and say, oh, he saved my life. Like, that's not it. But he affected positive change for me in a moment when I was struggling. And to have a friend like that to just be like, hey, dude, are you okay? It felt good.
Hey, that's some potent shit. There's this thing you learn really high level communication and dealing with people. Address and I work with disabled adults, and this was a key to it. Address the person, not the behavior. And that's why couples can't get along. They start reading into stuff like your wife does or your husband does, and you can't get along because you read into shit and you're not addressing the person, you're reading the behavior. It becomes about you instead of them. And he didn't do that. He addressed the person, not the behavior.
I love that. I'm writing that down, bud.
Right? He addressed you. He did that takes some hardcore selflessness. Addresses the person, not the behavior. Crazy.
Yeah, there's a high level of emotional intelligence involved with.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yes, crazy high level. Yeah, you're not getting sucked into their shit. You're Mother Teresa, you know, it's attributed to her. Be nice to people because you're a nice person, not because they're nice to you. And I feel the same way about being mean. Be mean to someone, not because you're supposed to be mean. Be mean because you want to be mean. Like, if you need to be mean to someone, be mean to them. But if you need to be nice to someone, be nice to them. But don't fucking do it because they're dictating they're dictating the reason why you're doing it. Hey, I'm nice to people because I'm just a nice person. Mm-hmm. Be an asshole to me, I'm still nice. You can't change me.
Yeah, and I think this is the circular conversation back to that thing I was talking about with Jordan Peterson. And it's like, hey, like, you know, you should be capable of extreme violence, and you should be very, very cautious of the individuals that look so gentle because they have their violence controlled. Right. You know, I'm paraphrasing how I distorted it. And it's like some of the baddest, toughest, hardest, coolest, most capable people that I know are kind. They're gentle. They're kind. And they have the ability to flip this switch. And that's what makes you respect them so much, because you're like, I know this person is in total control of himself, total control of his emotions, right? And we're talking specifically like anger and violence. And if he flips that switch, like, you hold those people in awe, I think. I do. Yeah. You know, there was I came across, Will Grimes sent me a Instagram something the other day, and it was the actor who played Optimus Prime on Transformers. And I wrote it down.
What's the guy's name? Will Grimes?
A buddy of mine, my buddy's name is Will. But he sent me an Instagram thing. I need to pull it up right now. It's the actor who played Optimus Prime, and I wrote this quote down. I just can't find my index card where I wrote it down. It's on a green one right here.
There's no hurry.
Green index card. His name is Peter Cullen.
Oh,
His
yeah. Okay,
brother was a captain in the Marine Corps, Vietnam, I think he was. And he was talking to him about whatever. Hey, you're going to Hollywood to play a hero, whatever, you know. And he said, hey, don't play this bullshit hero, that the macho thing. Like, be strong enough to be gentle. Be a hero be strong enough to be gentle. And I wrote that down yesterday, and I'm like, it's funny how the world works. Like, we're having this conversation on the blue. We didn't talk beforehand, and I've got all these notes, and it's all about one thing. It's like the gods are just pushing energy to me right now to put me in check or something, you know, and just check in with my values and check in with how I'm living my life. And amazing. Like, this thing with Taco hit pretty hard for me. It's right on it was the day before March 25th, which is the anniversary of the ambush in Iraq. And I usually just spend the day by myself. And then to get that.
What day was that? March 21st?
March 24th, Taco passed, and then
But the ambush
is
in Iraq, what was it? Was when?
25th, yeah.
Okay.
And so normally it's coming, it's coming, you start to feel it, and I just kind of do my own thing. Nicole was traveling, so I was home alone, and then get hit with Taco the next day, the 25th, and it's just like, oh man. So, anyways, neither here nor there.
Why does that date, the ambush in Iraq, how did that get stuck to a date? How did that get stuck to like a birthday? How did that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what day I was married. I don't know too many days. I know what day I was born. I don't know what day I was married. I don't know what day. I barely can remember the day my kids were born.
Right.
But that ambush in Iraq for you got stuck to a number, and then you said you can actually feel it. Do you know what the mechanism is in that?
No, I'm sure there's signals and triggers as it builds up and gets closer to it. It's like I don't even know what day it is half the time. Monday, Friday,
exactly. I don't picture you knowing, except, oh shit, in 3 days I have a diesel days, or oh shit, I need to be on this program for rowing in order to be ready to row across the Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean, my calendar is always on the computer because I have to pull it back up. Like, oh, when is that? What day is it? But
right,
I just get this. So the 25th was the day of the ambush, and also coincidentally, Armin McCormick, who was in the ambush, he's the godfather to my son. He was with us through the event. He was the driver of the vehicle. His birthday is the 25th as well. It's crazy.
Oh wow. Okay,
right?
So you got a lot of shit colliding.
Yeah, and inevitably there'll be an Instagram post that I'm tagged in, and then because other people and historians, whatever, and then it catches you. But just my body, like something, the power of the mind. I don't know, the soul, the conscience, what it is, but you just start feeling it. It's like, man, something's off, something's weird. Like, let me fight it. And
it is tension. It's tight. It's tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, fucking the 25th is in 3 days, 4 days. It's like, oh shit, man. And then once you have an awareness, you start feeding it or building it or believing in it. And and I've decided that I just don't. It's been much more healthier for me, whatever the way I'd say it, to accept it instead of to fight it. And just, hey, I acknowledge it, I accept it, and then I control what I can control in it, and create the safe space around it, and then let it move through instead of trying to put walls up and spend energy on building the walls, because inevitably that shit's stronger than the walls. Maybe the walls are strong enough this year, next year, but man, that energy is resilient, and it will continue to chip away until the walls aren't strong enough, right? And so I've been much more successful in my self-management and regulation when I acknowledge something, I accept it, and I let it move through. Control what you can control, my environment.
That's a crazy lesson there that you just said. So many people don't realize it. People think that their mind that created their problem can think them out of the problem, and instead now they have two problems. So I'll give you a really mundane example. I've been following these Frisbee golfers, and there's a Frisbee golfer. So every time he misses a shot, he says, "Oh, motherfucker," or he says something out loud, or he goes, "Son of a bitch," or he has some. He actually says his negative talk out loud, right? Mm-hmm. And the commentator was like, "Yeah, he's trying to work on that. He recognizes it, and he's trying to get rid of it." The problem is, if you start another story where you have self-talk and you talk shit, and now you have another story that starts up that you're trying to get rid of it. Now you got two stories. That's not the brain it just tells stories and makes shit, or you can accept it and move through it. Yeah. And if you can't accept it, if you can't accept the fact that you can't accept it, then you have to accept the fact that you can't accept it. And it's just it's like looking into two TVs, right? Or the two mirrors. And yeah, you nailed it. You have, at some point you can't fight it anymore. That's not how it goes away. Mm-hmm. What if you need something to go away, right? Yeah. It's thoughts aren't like that. You're not going to nullify it with another thought.
No, you just have to learn to be able to process the thoughts in a productive way. That's so I just launched the Hard Way project that went live, and that's the big that's a big underlying underpinning of what I'm trying to do with people to understand their mind. And I have this,
the Hard Way,
the Hard Way project. I have my theory on or the way that I do it, it's not a theory. It's just, hey, this is what I believe. I think the mind has a mind of its own, and it's based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and who we are at the genetic level, and our DNA and how we're built. And it's just this mind's mind. It's a creature. It's an energy that talks to your mind. And when the thoughts pop up in your head that you wrestle, that's your mind kind of synthesizing what the mind's mind is trying to convince it to do, which is in direct opposition generally to us as human beings, with ambition and goals and growth, And so,
can you give me an example? What do you mean? Like it's making excuses for you not to do it? Like instead of working on, like spinning stories of fear, shit like that?
yeah, like say, and I use working out. I use working out as as the place, as the arena to get the mind's mind to talk and manifest in your mind to convince you to do something. And then I teach the skills and techniques to be able to process that and understand, because you're never going to be firsthand privy to the conversation between your mind's mind and your mind. You just get the interpretation that your mind is giving you. So it's like you're doing something and you get a little voice in the back of your head. Oh, you don't need to do that now. Like you save that for later. Oh, that's not important. Or, oh, just take a break. Or, oh, have that chocolate bar, whatever the case may be, right? Or take a break, stop doing your sets.
Look
right
at your
now.
phone. Look at your phone. See who texts you.
Yeah, anything, and your ambitions, your desires, like, hey, that's not what's best suited for what I want to achieve right now.
Right.
But there's some other thing convincing me to seek safety or seek comfort.
Right.
To indulge convenience. And so we try to fight that. And then that allows you to have greater ownership, right? When I say you, your mind's part of you, but you, like what you have in your heart, your values. We talked about that a lot last. I'm very, very value oriented, and your goals and your dreams, right? And so it gives you more ownership of those things, so that you can trust yourself more when facing challenge, or when you are trying to achieve something. It's like, hey, you're in the middle of your marathon. It's like, oh, I just want to stop and sit down. My ankles are hurting or whatever it is. And the next thing you know, you don't finish in the time that you want, or you don't qualify for the Boston Marathon, or you quit. And then 4 days later, you're sitting in your chair and you have regret or remorse or disappointment. And it's like, yeah, because you let your mind's mind convince you that safety, comfort, and convenience is the priority for you right now. And that's in direct opposition of you pushing yourself to achieve. And so it's the bedrock of mediocrity. And so that's what we're doing with that. And I'm excited, man. But that's all the stuff that we're talking about, that little voice in the back of your head. Like, what is that? A whole bunch of different people call it different things.
And how to deal with it.
Well, that's the big thing, right? Like, first I want to create awareness that that's what's happening, and understand how I process the process.
Right.
And then teach you some techniques to be able to wrestle with that a little bit, to hedge your bets against it, and develop to not necessarily defeat it, but win in the moment, right? And it's all about winning in the moment. Hey, you know what? I really feel like having a beer and then going to bed and putting on a show, but I really know, like, I have to get up on my computer real fast and knock out these 3 emails. Oh, well, and the difference is you having a beer, going to bed and watching a show, versus you doing what you want to do.
I thought you said going to bed and putting on a show. I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah, well, do that too. Yeah. Anyway,
I like what you said about becoming aware of it first too, because I think a lot of people aren't aware of their own little devil. And so they're reacting to it, right? They don't even hear, go check your phone. They're in the middle of a workout. Next thing you know, they are checking their phone. So the first thing is to become aware that, like, hey, you had to have had a thought before you moved over and derailed your shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you become aware of that.
And in this simple case, right? Like, it's okay, I'm aware of it now. Well, now I can pick a strategy to win against that happening. Leave your phone in the car. Really, really hard to, in the middle of a workout, go grab your keys, unlock your car, go to your car, get the phone, And so we're teaching little techniques that you can do and use. And the world is, we're suffocated with everybody with their ideas. Half of them don't work. They're full of shit. I try to think of what actually works for me, what I actually do and practice, and share those things, instead of it all just being bullshit that that's out there.
Right.
Not that there's not great stuff out there either. There is, but and another thing is why I don't call it our own little devil is because I don't think the mind's mind is inherently evil either.
Okay.
I think it serves a purpose, and there's times when the mind's mind is trying to convince you to do something, and it's like, hey, but what's of import is you having a conscious and rational discussion with your mind and yourself instead of just blindly following that. There'll be times when you just blindly follow, and those will be times of extreme circumstance. That's fine. That's when survival mechanisms kick in. But for the most part, I don't want you to think that the mind's mind is evil. It's essential. It's part of us. You need to accept it, and it provides a little bit of balance, but you just don't blindly follow it. Right.
Yeah. I don't think well said. I don't think there's a reason to spin a story about it.
Yeah.
A narrative about it.
Yeah.
When you were 2 years before you decided to row across it was 2 years before you jumped in the boat, right? You had this, somehow it came to you that you were going to row across the Atlantic, and then there was a 2-year window before you got in the boat with your homies and started rowing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's about right. Yep. 2.5.
Did you, in those 2 years, did you spin any tales that you remember of why you can't do it or why you're not going to do it?
Not really.
Like 6 months in, like, hey, I'm not going to do this because you hear any of those start up?
No, none of those really popped up because I think I spent a lot of time on the front side deciding I want to do it. Like, hey, I want to do this. There was a function of need as well, or how I phrased it is like, hey, I need to do this. I want to do this. Other tales that were spun was how well are we going to do? Am I going to break down? Am I going to be the best teammate possible? In those stories, but there was never a doubt that I wasn't going to do it, and there was never a doubt that I wasn't going to finish it.
Is that all prep? Is that like self-manipulation? All of that talk? I need to do it. How you phrase stuff, how you talk to yourself. Is it like self-manipulation, or is that psychological prep?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think it's manipulation in an ugly sense, right?
No. And I didn't mean it like that. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I think it is
like how you would stack wood before you lit the match to it to make sure that when it goes up, you're
right,
manipulating
it's
the pieces
preparation.
of wood so that okay, preparation.
Yeah, smart prep, right? Psychological prep, positive framing, positive psychology, growth mindset stuff. That's what I mentor. So I mentor what I actually use and do for myself.
And then that brings us to it. Why? How did that happen? Why would you? There's so many ways to cross the Atlantic. It seems like such an unconventional thing to do. There would be so much other safer ways. Like, so you wanted to go on a run. You didn't run up Mount Everest. You fucking ran in a Connex box. That seems safe. Why? You have kids. You have a wife. It just doesn't seem like a sound idea to me to row across the Atlantic Ocean. There's motors that could help you. There's motors.
Yeah, for sure. But then, safety takes away the excitement and the opportunity for the adventure too, right? Like if you're constantly trying to do
it's just so big. I wouldn't even consider it. It doesn't even, Sevan, you're going to row across the Atlantic. No, I'm not. Like, there's not even like if you were to be like, hey, Sevan, we're going to sleep. You're going to come to my house in Colorado. We're going to build an igloo and we're going to sleep overnight in it. It's going to be cool. I'm going to teach you how to stay warm and we're going to do it naked. I'd be like, fuck, that's crazy, Tosh. Okay, I'll try that.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot row across the Atlantic. It can't even catch flame. It can't even, for me, it doesn't even, there's nothing that I can't even, I would start immediately probably walking away from you if I thought you were serious even.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
I think
you know what I mean? It's too big. It's too big.
Why? Why is it too big for you? Why is it too impossible, too unsafe for you?
For planet Earth, for where we are, for what I know, you're going to put yourself in the most lonely, intense, unknown situation probably possible. I can't think of anything more lonely or unknown than going out into the middle of one of this rock's oceans. I mean, we call them oceans, but all the water's connected. You're going out into the way, way unknown part, right? I mean, we've been to the fucking moon, but there's parts of the ocean we don't even know what's in our own fucking ocean.
I know, right? That's crazy.
I know, it's just nuts. And then to row it after so many men have worked to make it so we don't have to row it. We can fly over it. We can get in a fucking giant aircraft carrier that a helicopter could bring you a bottle of Jack Daniels. I mean, there's like, it's do you know why?
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Like,
Yeah.
just because there's chainsaws doesn't mean that you don't pick up an axe and decide to just go chop a tree down with an axe.
I agree.
You know,
I agree, but I'm probably too. Now that you mentioned that, I would only chop down a tree with an axe out of absolute necessity because I would be afraid that fucking thing would fall on me, that I'd do something wrong.
All right. Well, I mean, absolute necessity can be because you need the wood and you don't have a chainsaw, or absolute necessity could be because you need to
shelter
have
and
that
fire
experience and and for some emotional, psychological reason, right? And then you just need to have that challenge. And I would say that the ocean seemed so huge and big, and like the safety thing and all the stuff that you're talking about is look at your experiences that you have accrued through your lifetime in physical endeavors like this versus mine. And so for me, yes, the ocean was daunting. This was very daunting, but it was exciting, and it wasn't as abstract for me as it might be for you or for somebody else. And I could tell you that you could do it, Sevan. I know you could do it, but the sum total, the repository of your work that you've done in sort of these things is much smaller than mine. So I have greater reference, and it's not as much of a stretch goal for me as it might be for some other individual. And that doesn't mean to say that the people that are rowing across the ocean right now, like Bernie's still on the ocean right now. I just got a ping today that he's getting close. This guy, Bernie, he's late 60s, and he's got this boat called the Boat of Hope, and he's doing it for children.
He left at the same time you guys did?
Yeah, rowing solo, all by himself. But he's really fueled and powered inside with purpose. Yeah, and his purpose is beautiful. But yeah, you know, when
enough food and water for that, how many days has he been out there?
Over 100, but I think they had to resupply him.
Wow.
I'm not certain, but I think they had to because they were taking so long. There was 3 boats still in the water as of maybe last week. One or two of them had finished. I think Bernie might be the last one out there, but they've taken a lot longer than anticipated. So I think they got a resupply. But
he's a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. Mid 60s. I think.
Would you do that?
Man, there's something in the back of my head saying maybe that would be good for me. It's a little spooky, but the fact that it's a little spooky and I initially want to shy away from it, flinch, means maybe I need to think about it a little bit more instead of just blindly flinching and being okay with the flinch or the turning my back on it. So, I think about it, but there's a lot of other votes that get involved with undertaking huge endeavors like that. Like, what's the purpose? What's the reason? Am I whatever. So, but yeah, it's wickedly impressive. It's way more impressive than anything that we did as a team of 4. Him out there alone, still out there doing it. It's cool.
Serena Williams goes to tennis practice, right? Great. They say she's the greatest athlete who ever, like, greatest single sport athlete who ever lived. No one's done what she's done in her sport, and blah blah blah. The people sing her praises like crazy. And then she goes to practice, and if she's not failing, right? Sometimes you think if you're not failing, you're not getting better. Like, that makes so much sense, right? Like, if you're not trying to brush your teeth, if you're not trying to do something with your left hand every day, then you might not be getting better.
Yeah, I'm a nitpicker because I like to make, like, I wouldn't use the word failing. But if you're not challenged, like if you're not pushing yourself up against your thresholds every single day, it one thing or 10 things or whatever, you're not growing. And
so if you're not failing a bench press or a back squat, or if you're not trying to learn a new serve in tennis, or like you succeeded, you rode across, right? But you still grew as a person, but you didn't fail.
No. Well, we didn't achieve our goal. And hey, when you don't complete a rep at the back squat, It's not a failure. I don't believe that. And I'm not just playing words and being cute. I don't call it a failure. I call it as an opportunity for awareness. It's okay, cool. 10 reps at X weight is just too much. I've only got 9 in me. I've just identified my limit.
But
And
if you're
it
not
gives me
doing
an
that, you're not.
opportunity to push again to achieve that limit. I don't call that a failure. There are failures that we
But the
have.
failure, what I'm suggesting, would be if you got all 10.
If I got all 10 and wasn't challenged, and it was like, hey, I could have got 12, but I stopped at 10. It's like, okay, well, that wasn't a challenge. Maybe it was developmental. I don't know, physically, but like, hey, why not put 5 more pounds on that thing and try to do it for 10 and just constantly kind of push. It's like, if you have the ability to do a 100-pound back squat, and that's all you do is 100-pound back squats, but you have the ability to do 180-pound back squats, is there any benefit for doing the 100 pounds? Maybe, but maybe the benefit's only this much. Why not do the 170 and get this much? Why not try 185 and get this much? I'm a big fan of, you have to be challenged. You should seek challenge, not shy away from it. Don't try to do just the things that you're good at, that that you can accomplish. Push yourself to be challenged. And then what that does is helps you identify, okay, what other resources do I need? Who else can I leverage for support? Or, hey, maybe it's just a self-awareness. Like, I don't know what my limit is. If I've never tried to do it, I don't know to what degree I'm capable. Now, we don't want to create these challenges that are so far outside of our capability that we flounder. And then the negative effects from not accomplishing what you set out to do is greater than the positives, right? So there's sort of appropriate scaling if we're going to talk CrossFit, right? There's no sense of putting, your 80-year-old mom and have her do Fran RX when she can barely do a freaking squat. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, let's scale this thing so that she's still getting the benefit, and it's appropriate. It's going to push her. It's going to challenge her. Right. So anyways, a lot of my thought processes really come from what I was presented to with Greg in the CrossFit community back when I first stumbled on CrossFit. It reinforced the way that I believed about things, but it really made, listening to Greg talk at the seminars, really, like, the words that he uses and how he defines things and articulates them. I'm just like, man, that is awesome. And and that's just physical training, but man, it applies so much to where I'm really excited in leadership and helping people in the psychological and emotional space as well.
Yeah, I took all that stuff and kind of converted it, put it through the transcoder ring to raising kids, right?
Yeah.
Like what he was saying, you could sort of adapt and start pointing anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It makes it so beautiful.
When someone has the idea, right? You were talking about seeing those things, seeing that mind talk, right? That you might either just react to, or and we were using the cell phone as the example, right? You're in the middle of a workout and you go check your cell phone, and then you decide, well, you know what I'm going to do to mitigate that? I'm going to put the cell phone in the car. But now the benefit is you don't check your cell phone, but you catch yourself wanting to check your cell phone. So now you've become aware of the thought, and that's a win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always trip on tattoos like that too. Like, hey, someone wanted to get a tattoo. How much thought did you try to watch and see where that thought came from? Like, where did that come from, that you want someone to take an impermanent thought and now make it permanent on your body? What's the catalyst for that? Do you know, as those examples, what the catalyst is for getting in a boat and rowing across the Atlantic? Can you see what is the deepest place that you see it coming from?
Yeah, it's adventure, it's exploration, it's challenge. It's hey, this is a little bit bigger than the last thing I did. Well, a lot bigger. Who am I? Like, always trying to figure out, am I really who I think I am?
Me, explain that to me. Who am I? Like,
yeah, I like this.
Did it ever scare you? Sorry, Tosh, let me ask you. Did it ever scare you when you first heard it? And that's why you embraced it. You saw, I'm going to speculate that maybe it scared the shit out of you, but you're programmed to embrace anything you see that scares the shit out of you, to turn and face it. Like, fuck you. What?
Yeah, I wouldn't use word scare.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was spooky. It was like, oh shit, what the? And I remember the conversation. And again, it goes back to Dan Taco.
Yeah.
I got an email from him saying, somebody reached out. James reached out to Dan and said, hey, do you know anybody that would be have the ability to row across the ocean or something, do an ultimate adventure with me and a buddy, Brian. And Dan put them in touch with Chris Smith, myself, I don't know, a couple other people probably. And James reached out to somebody else, and Chris's name came up, my name came up. So they interviewed us on a Zoom call, Chris and I, and we were talking. It's like, yeah, hey, like, I'd love to do something. Yeah, I'm in for something crazy, something big. Like, I thought we were going to design something, right? Like we were going to trek across the Rockies in the middle of winter or something, you know? And so next thing you know, they're like, hey, well, have you ever heard about this race? And I'm like, no, I never heard about that. Row across the ocean. I've never heard anybody row a boat across the ocean. And then I started looking into it a little bit. I'm like, oh, wow, man, I'm not afraid of the ocean. I respect it. I've seen it turn and do some wild things. I'm not a phenomenal swimmer. You know, my mind immediately went to those places. And I was like, huh, man, I wonder what's possibility, you know? Possibility. Could I even do that? What am I going to benefit from doing it? Like, what am I going to learn about myself, about my best friend, Chris? And so I agreed. And then we set the goal of trying to, you know, set a world record or win or whatever. And, but that was the allure, you know, there was some thought, and it was spooky, and it was a little bit of the unknown for me. And it was not super outside of a realm of possibility, although it was a little bit farther than some of the other things that I've accepted to do. And I was just like, yeah, well, I guess we're gonna go for that. And so that's what kind of pulled me. It was a little spooky. It was a little out there. It was a stretch. It was an unknown. And man, I'd rather know that I can't do something than to wonder whether I can or I can't. You know,
When you deployed, did you ever write one of the? Do soldiers write letters? Like, dear mom and dad, if I don't like, and you put, like, if you die, a die letter, and then you put it in an envelope, and then they is that real?
it's real. Yeah, I wrote one letter
like that
to my wife at the time, because I was a brand new father, and I wrote one letter, and I only did that once for all my deployments or everything like that. And I really didn't have a lot of time to write during my deployments anyways, pretty busy. But I did write.
Do they ask you to write that?
I've been in different units where leadership has like encouraged it. And I've been in units where it was like, whatever, you know, you do your own flavor, and everybody's got their own belief on whether it's good or it's not good or this or that. Some people like, hey, write yourself a letter. You know, I've heard that. And I thought that was really cool. Like, write yourself a letter and put it in an envelope. And then it to me, that's a little more powerful. But yeah, I wrote one letter, and it was when I went to Iraq for OIF. No, it was, I don't know what date that was. 2000.
Do you still have that letter?
I might. I never gave it to her because I came back and I was
die.
like, yeah, I didn't need to give it to her. I think it's in I've got a little ammo can that's got a bunch of shit in it that is just locked up and thrown in the back of the closet.
Did you write one of those for when you row across the Atlantic?
No.
Did you think about writing one?
No.
Do you think that maybe when you said bye to your kids or to Nicole, that they thought that they thought it might be the last time they see you?
I'd have to ask Nicole that. I know she was a little bit anxious. You know, her and Andrea both were a little anxious. You know, they originally didn't want us to do it. Chris and I to do it.
I don't want my wife doing that. So don't want.
It's funny that you say that because it's something we joke about when I did the container challenge.
Yeah, I don't want my wife doing that either, because something psychologically could happen to you in there too that maybe you don't come back from.
Yeah. But you know, I've been with Nicole for so long, and she knows me, and I've been through these things. And but we were in Tahoe up at Squaw and in these boxes, and they were out, and her and another wife.
Elevation, you ran in that box in Tahoe? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Squaw. It was pretty cool. I forget what elevation we were at, 85 or something.
You ran in there for 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. Okay, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. And so Nicole was outside with one of the other wives and two of the girlfriends, and we joke about this all the time, and they were having a conversation. Oh, I'm so worried about so and so. I'm so worried about so and so. And Nicole's like, "What do you mean? Like, I know exactly where he is. He's in a container right there, not in the middle of Patagonia with no comms. There's a camera on him. They're monitoring him.
Right.
He's the safest he's ever been for any of these adventures." And she was able to sleep well, whereas the other ladies, that was new for them. It was a new experience for them, And in Nicole's mind, this is the safest Tosh has ever been for some of the shit that he's done. And then now fast forward to do this row, her and Andrea, Chris's wife, is like, yeah, they really didn't want us in their hearts to do it. They were anxious, probably scared, but they're also such beautiful partners that, they supported us when we made the decision to go, after talking about it. And, you have to do all your things that you're obligated to do for your partner, like to help them be more comfortable with what you're doing and share with them your training and the safety protocols and the comms and all this other stuff to help alleviate some of their concerns. That's good partnership, right? And I don't know if she ever thought I was never going to come back or something bad was going to happen. I never thought that.
And she would probably keep that to herself if she did.
We communicate pretty well. She would communicate to me so that she could be better, and I would receive that, knowing that she needed to communicate that. Right. And she also doesn't communicate certain things that she knows might have a negative effect on me performing, for me not.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right. I'll save this. I'll write this down and tell him when he gets back.
Mm-hmm. So like we had a talk before I went. I want no news. I want no bad news when I get out on the row. I'll get it all when I get back.
And you told her that.
Yeah. And
don't tell me our dog got eaten by a bear.
Yeah. I don't want to know anything.
Okay. Right. You cut your finger off in the kitchen. Just get that shit taxidermied. I'll look at it when I come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. Smart move.
And then Chris had a different strategy. He was like, well, I would rather know, because I know that that's better for my wife to share it for me. And
he's a good dude.
I can manage it. And if something happens, I want them to know that I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I respected that. It got me thinking about it a lot. And I really
totally got me thinking just now. I'm like, God, I'm a bitch.
Yeah, right. I'm being selfish because I don't want to know anything. Yeah. Whereas Chris was being selfless. And it's like, well, if she feels like she needs to tell me something, I want to be strong enough.
I banged your brother.
You always go there. So, and funny enough, 2 days before, it was 3 days before I found out, before we were starting the row, our dog Theo just got really sick. We didn't know she had some cancers, and it just exploded, and her health went boom.
2 days before your departure.
Yeah, 3 days I found out, and then we had to put her down. And
you had one of those giant white dogs, right? What is it?
A Marima, basically a Great Pyrenees.
Okay.
And she was, man, I was so close to her and connected. I mean, and it was hard for her to tell me. She didn't know whether to tell me or not tell me. And she was going through some things, and I felt it when I was talking to her, texting her, and I was like, hey, like, you sure you want to know? I'm like, well, yeah, like, let's go. I'm not on the boat yet. Let's deal with it. And so I had to go through with euthanizing our dog. And while I was on video, never got to say goodbye. It just felt horrible. I feel horrible still. Like there's a big void in my life right now. And also knowing that it was good that I decided to be involved so that I could be a support structure for her, so that she didn't have to keep it in for who knows how long I'm going to be on the ocean, Right. And so it is actually interesting that even though I didn't want to know anything while I was rowing, right before going, we dealt with it. And then we just trusted that my ability to compartmentalize, process, manage, that I would be able to set that here and have it not affect my row. And that's where Nicole was concerned. She didn't want it to affect me while I was on the ocean when I needed to be good.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we practice in our life. I mean, we do it's habit is we never say, hey, be safe. Right. I don't want you to be safe. I want you to be good. Right. I want you to be smart. And when I tell my kids goodbye, or they're getting ready to get in the car and go someplace, hey, drive safe. I don't tell them to drive safe. I tell them to drive smart, because I think if you're smart, safety's nested in that. And I would rather you be smart than safe. And so it's just something that I've habituated in my life and the lives of my immediate family and friends, and we just don't say, be safe and be smart. Hey, be
When
good.
when my kids climb, I always say to them, "Man, your hands are strong," instead of "Don't fall." Wow.
Right? Yeah.
I cannot. I mean, your hand. God, you guys always impress me with how much confidence you have in your hands. I mean, really, inside, I'm scared shitless.
Right. It's
but
all
I
psychology.
do believe that. But I do believe that they have incredibly strong hands. They've been hanging and climbing their whole life, from gymnastics rings and shit. But I do want to say "Don't fall," but I quickly convert it. You're right. Like, don't fall. What the fuck does that mean?
I learned this phrasing, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, when the whole, hey, you know why you forget your car keys? Is because you said, hey, don't forget your car keys. Instead of saying, hey, remember your car keys. And then you're going to remember your car keys. And it's crazy, just that subtle, mundane little, it's about car keys, right? Or, hey, don't forget it's your mom's birthday tomorrow. Oh, shit, guess what? And then you forget. It's like, hey, remember, it's your mom's birthday tomorrow. Oh shit. So you know what? It's crazy because it's right with cueing at the level 1 seminars in CrossFit, right? Don't say, hey, your back is all bendy. Say, hey, tighten your abs, or whatever. You give a cue that affects positive, right, of what you want them to do, instead of reinforcing what they're doing or reinforcing what you don't want them to do. Cue the direction you want to go. It's riding a bike. You're riding a bike and you're trying to ride on this white line. There's a steep cliff off to the right-hand side, and there's massive traffic on your left-hand side. And so you're riding your bike, and you're looking to the right, like, oh shit, I don't want to go down there. And while you're looking down there, you start going in the direction that you look. And then you're driving and you're riding and you're looking to the left, and you're like, oh shit, like, don't go into traffic. And inevitably you swerve into traffic. Look where you want to go.
Motorcycle riding, or in bikes, when you're on those bike trails and there's the steel pole as you cross the street.
Yeah.
Like, never look at the pole, like, right? No. Look between them. But someone has to tell you that.
Yeah.
I didn't figure that out on my own. Someone's like, hey, don't look at the pole, you'll hit it. And I'm like, where should I look? In between. Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
And then you just go perfectly through. You don't even, it's like magic.
Your body, there's this energy in here that just guides you. I've learned it in archery, working with John Dudley. It's Mark McGuire visualizing when he was home run smashing. You listen to people that walk tightropes across the Grand Canyon. It's like, hey, I'm not looking where I don't want to go. I'm aware, right? I'm not ignoring it or being ignorant to it, but I'm looking exactly where I want to go. You want to walk a straight line? Look the straight line that you want to walk, and that's in the physical world. And I started to make the tie-ins and the connections to the psychological space as well, for emotions, moods, feelings, values, all these other things. Look that direction. It's power positive psychology is all it wraps up into.
I was always good at crumpling up a piece of paper. I was the least athletic kid I ever knew, but if I was in a room and people were crumpling up pieces of paper and trying to throw them like into a can or something, I always won that game. And I don't know how I won it, but I knew one thing. I never thought about how I threw the paper. I just looked. I just trusted my eyes. Do not take your eyes off exactly where you want to go. I just walked into a Jamba Juice the other day, and these kids were shooting from like 10 feet away. And I had my 3 boys there. I go, watch this. And I was like completely on the other side. I shot it over these high school boys' head into the trash. And everyone's like, holy shit. My kids are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, but I never take my eyes off the target. Ever. Just there's the hole. Yeah. Just trust you. I just have faith that my hand and my shit will do it. Yeah, it's cool. I wish I would have been taught that earlier. I didn't learn that kind of shit until I was maybe my late 20s.
Yeah, I don't think I learned it until after you. I'm a slow learner, but it really started to come into home when I picked up archery and going through that and getting mentorship from Dudley. And it was, it's not, visualize the shot. I mean, that's cool and all.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't have any abilities like that.
Yeah, my mind doesn't work that way. It's like, hey, you don't say, oh, I hope I don't miss this shot, or oh, I hope I don't put it in the guts. It's like, hey, look exactly where you want that arrow to go.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you should see when the string breaks. And you know what? All of my shots that I feel the best about, that's exactly what happened. And it's this process of training it's the hand-eye coordination. It's the harmony of everything that's going on, and your body, your mind, like these pathways that we're not even aware exist, that are pulling information in that your subconscious is collecting for you to be successful, it's making the corrections. Don't sit there and concentrate. Oh, well, the wind's blowing so hard left to right or whatever. Like, look exactly where you want the arrow to go. Like, make your decision where to hold over or whatever. But focus on that and let all that other stuff disappear. And the rest of you is just going to take over, and your shot's going to be brilliant. And I've watched him. I've watched Kevin Wilkie do some amazing things. I got to tell you this story. So Kevin Wilkie, another pro archer, medalist at the World Games. Yeah, we bring him down to our one of the charity things that we do for a vet hunt for veterans, and they get a custom bow by Hoy. They get custom instruction from Kevin Wilkie. We go out on the range, and then we go hunting. And we're out on a range day, shooting this 3D target. It was a Velociraptor, actually, a really big target. And we put a
What state is this? Where is this?
Down in Texas. I take them.
Oh, okay.
There's a 3-inch pasty that we put on. It's bright orange, and we stick it where we want everybody to shoot. We were off like 75 yards or 80 yards or something. We're all shooting.
That's far, right? That's far.
Yeah, it's a good stretch, especially for a lot of first-time shooters. But that just, demonstrates the quality of instruction that Kevin gives. And he puts one in at 11 o'clock, right just inside the ring of the pasty. So at 80 yards in a 3-inch circle.
Wow.
He's right on the edge. Boom. We go up, we pull the arrows, we're coming back, we're talking, whatever. And I'm like, I bet you $5 you can't put it in the exact same hole. You can't do it again. And he looked at me, and I'm like, no, I mean, exact same hole. Not touching, not half in, half out, exact same hole. And we talked, he's like, you could just see this shift in him. I've seen it in Dudley when he was doing some instruction for us. I see this just shift. I've seen it in other professional athletes when all of a sudden, boom, they go into like game mode. I've seen it in the battlefield. And so we get back there, he draws and he's looking, and I'm thinking he's getting ready to shoot. And then he does this other breath, and he just leans into it, and then he releases, and he just looks at me and he smiles. I'm like, fuck, you didn't do it. We walk up there, and no shit, Sevan, he put a second arrow in the exact same hole. Well, that's kind of vulgar. Right. He put a second arrow in the exact same hole as the first arrow. No, like completely exactly. Right. And I was just like, whoa. And we talked about it. We talked about the psychology and the things and stuff like that. And he was just like, what happened when I thought you were going to release? He's like, yeah, that's funny you said that, because I thought it was there, but I could do better. And so I just leaned into it one more time and really focused in on that hole, not this hole, this hole.
Yeah. And
then boom, he did it. And I was like, whoa, it was wild.
Does anyone know why that works?
Dudley says it because when you get to that state, you trust your body and everything, and it's absorbing all these signals that we're not even aware. Your subconscious, right. And it's like, hey, and then when it releases, your body was doing things to make it exactly perfect, that you're not even aware of. It takes a lot of training, a lot of practice,
right?
And a whole bunch of other things, reps on reps on reps. I mean,
what about faith? Do you think faith plays a role in it?
I do. Belief.
You ever use that word? Do you use that word, faith?
I use the word belief.
Belief.
Yep.
Why don't you use faith? Just out of curiosity. And I'm not challenging you. I'm just curious if there's something what you think about that word.
I think faith is to me, I'm a word weirdo.
Me too.
It has to do with like some spiritual something like just kind of fucking out there. I don't know, just blind. It's sort of blind, and you have to do it. I think there's a place for it. But
complete trust or confidence in something.
Yeah. And usually I when I look at faith, I kind of tie it to religion.
Right.
And that's
what I'm thinking. Do you think it cultivates faith? Those type of practices that you just mentioned?
Well, would you say you have faith in yourself, or do you say you have belief in yourself?
In myself, I have belief.
Right. And that's why.
But maybe in the outside world, I think I have faith.
Faith in things that you don't know, don't have control.
Yeah, things I don't have control over. Yeah.
It's blind faith, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Is God real? Like, right. But you just have to have faith. Like, right. I'm a much more, I like to use the word belief, because I think that it's more like, hey, I believe in myself, and maybe I'm not Webster. So, he can define the words how he wants to, but I pick and choose certain words and to use certain words because of the impact and the effect that it has for me in the way that I process and do things.
It's an interesting thing. I feel like through so much belief, I've started. The byproduct of it was I cultivated faith.
I'll think about that a little bit. So
Like
much belief that it's cultivated faith.
Yeah, and it goes back to that question. I'm not sure how things are working, but they seem to just always be working out as long as I believe they're going to work out. But sometimes it's kind of like, holy shit, that went in the same hole again.
Yeah.
And it's like you see it so many times and you start to maybe it's just a placeholder for something that I just can't get my head around because I don't have an explanation for it.
That could be it. When I'm getting ready to make my shot and I think that I'm getting ready, the arrow's going to break. It's like, I believe this is going to go right there. And I don't necessarily think like I have faith, but maybe the two words are just so close and synonymous. I just keep them separated for reasons that maybe I'm not articulating quite well.
When you if you want to be a yoga instructor, you have to do like yoga training certifications, right? And then like you do one in India, it's like back bending, and then you do one in Telluride up in the mountains, and it's like different poses, and you go and you know what I mean, you learn then you go to one in Newport Beach, California, it's on breathing, and you accumulate all of these certificates so that you can teach the yoga. For you, that sail across the Atlantic, I think, was a seminar for you. I was thinking.
I like that.
It was like what are they called? Continued education, CEU, CET, continued education training. That you have these things that you do, like the one we just talked about, the Hard Way Project.
Yep.
There are these things that you're involved with, and that was continued education training. That it was that even before it was being successful. Like you have to maintain a certain level of challenges and experiences that you have to put yourself through for you to be potent in your and reputable and competent in your day job.
And relevant and credible.
Right, relevant.
I deal with self-doubt.
I'm not saying consciously you do that, but at how old are you? You're 50, 45?
48. Yeah, 49 here coming up. Yeah.
At 48, I was thinking, oh, he realizes that now while other people were doing all these other classes and this so that they could be a yoga teacher, your life has become, oh shit, you did all of these things that maybe just happened out of blind faith that allowed you then to come to the present and teach these what you need to teach now. I mean, that's what you are, right? You're this accumulation of some of challenges and difficulties and hardships and skills that now you've turned into a class for sharing, right? A professionalized.
Yeah, I like that. Digging in a little because it's something that I've been working on, exploring, understanding, and I wrestle with self-doubt. I wrestle with being relevant and credible, and we're so suffocated by so many other people that are sharing shit. I'm like, fucking full of shit. That's bullshit. They don't have half the fucking experience. And then there's like this, and then is that ego coming in now? And there's judgment and ego, and I don't like that. And I've had this saying for a long time, back from when I was an instructor at the infantry officers course, and it was, don't believe your own bullshit. Like, okay, hey, so you did it once or you did this, that doesn't give you complete expert or authority in all of these things. You don't know if it was luck or not or whatever, and I just, these things bounce around to me and say, hey, who are you trying to prove, and who are you trying to prove it to, and why? In those questions and conversations are in my head all the time. And it's like, well, why do you keep doing these things? And it's like, well, I don't want to be that guy that just says what I used to do 20 years ago. Like, I still do it. I believe in it. I believe in it so much. And I want to be credible, and well, you have so much credibility. And, I did a podcast with Sherwood and Boz, like 2 weeks ago. and Pat said, "Hey, Tosh, could you write down a list of all the shit that you've done?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, I
I
think
was
I had
thinking of
one
that too.
started." And I
Yeah.
started writing them down, and I sent him
Yeah.
this list. And I was building this list. I'm
This
like,
is before
"Holy
you went on the
shit."
podcast?
Yeah, he said,
Uh-huh.
"Hey, I just want to get an idea." And I started building that list out, and I'm like, "Holy shit."
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, what was the progression? Because you look at all these things, you're like, "Oh my God, this, and this." Well, it's more recent in the progression. It's constantly building up, building up, building up, building up. And like, man, you got more credibility across these things in this domain than anybody I've talked to. And it's like, yeah, I guess. And like, how come I didn't know him? Well, I don't
You're
advertise it.
48. You're
I know,
48.
right? And it doesn't make my experiences better than anybody else's. It just make them
Yeah.
mine, and they're unique to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
In the combination and the collection of them, and the way that I think makes them unique to me, and sharing the lessons and the learnings that I've had along the journey is important. And again, like, it's not a comparison to other people as much as it's like, hey, this is mine, and this is how I've done it and processed it, and this is my resume, so to speak. You have different ones, and maybe I'm attractive to you, this audience, and you're attracted to this audience, or that audience is attracted to you, and there's space for it all, you know. And so, but I started looking at that, and I'm like, man, like, Tosh, like, when are you going to start believing in yourself? Like, when are you going to stop wrestling with, are you this or are you that? And just start sharing. And so that was a big piece for me with the hard way, and obviously conversations with Bill Henniger, and he's just an amazing dude in his support.
What do you mean
But,
conversations? Does Bill talk?
Oh yeah.
He talks.
Yeah, he's awesome. He is fucking awesome. But anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but
That's
I
the joke, by the way.
That's
the joke so that was the joke my wife would always tell herself, my and I know about that yoga stuff because my wife did all, there's a weekend certificate here, there's a 1 month course here, and it's always like, hey, I just need one more course, I just need one more, and then I can teach.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is like, people go to the police academy, but then you're not really a competent police officer. And as human beings, we need to be compassionate towards this. This is part of just being in a civilization and understanding shit. You need 3 years on the job. Same with being a lawyer. You graduate from law school. You're not really, you need 5 years of fucking courtroom experience. And that's how, you have all of this life experience, and now it's time to share it. That's what I bring this up to you, because that's exactly what I feel like. I did 50 years on planet Earth, and now somehow I'm parlaying that into, God bless the fucking internet and podcasts and social media for that.
Yeah.
But we're surrounded, Tosh, by this group of people who is saying stuff, and people are believing it, but they're not showing it to you. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm Tosh, and being vulnerable is very important, and that is where you dip into power. And I just want you to know that my life isn't perfect, and things can get hard, and I persevere through them, and then you go on for 15 minutes. And that is what we're swimming in. That fucking, when I go somewhere, they don't make me feel comfortable. Well, I still don't know anything. But when you tell me I'm about to get on a fucking boat to cross the Atlantic and my dog died, and I see a tear going down your face, and you're like, I still haven't processed it. I don't need you to tell me that being vulnerable is important. I don't need you to tell me that you're vulnerable. I didn't watch a 20-minute YouTube video on you telling me you're vulnerable. I just got it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think that what I heard you describing is something that I've been just watching all around me, and I'm perplexed at how many people fall for it. They're just being told bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, so what if you're vulnerable? I want to see it. I want to see that you're real. It's not enough. Yeah, it's not enough. Oh my God, Tosh is so real. How do you know? Because he told me he's real. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like,
show me, don't tell me.
Yeah. I saw this motherfucker on a podcast put a chew in and start to cry when he said his dog died. Oh. You know, that's real. Not,
Mhm.
I'm a perfect paragon of health and I'm very emotionally available to my wife. Fuck off.
Right.
Like, you're not a fucking paragon of health. You haven't shown me shit. And I have no idea. Bring your wife on here. Let me talk. Let me ask her some questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Who's
just,
who's even worse are the individuals that recognize that and that they're shallow in those regards, and then they contrive opportunities to show you, and they manipulate what they're showing you in order to reinforce what they're saying, even though it's a charade, right?
right.
I'm going to show you that I'm running this pace, and I'm, hey, be hard, motherfucker, whatever, and I'm running this, and you know, whatever. But they're very select snaps of what I'm going to choose to show in order to manage your perception of me, manipulate, right?
Even look at the Juicy Smollett thing. I mean, if you want to just show another kind of crazy version of that, he hired people to because. Did you ever see the Chris Rock stand up?
No, but I know what you're talking about with the Smollett case. Yeah.
So he says there's 4 ways to get attention right now, and then recently I was just learning about we are in an attention economy. It's so weird, man.
That makes sense.
People are some people. If you get sucked up into this, people, you better fucking get out. You will eventually. It will lead to suicide. I'm telling you. You do not want people to be in control of your mental health or your values. But basically, he says there's 4 ways to get attention. Show your ass. Do something infamous. That's like, release a sex tape. That's like the old days, like how Paris Hilton got famous right before social media and stuff. Be really good at something. Row across the Atlantic, or invent Tylenol. I don't know, aspirin. And then 4 is play the victim. Those are the 4 ways you get. And yeah, the Jussie Smollett thing is crazy. Like, he fabricated, some people are fabricating their workouts. This guy was going to fabricate a scene of being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to have you call me racial slurs and make fun of my sexuality and then put a noose around my neck. I'm just like, what?
What's wrong with people?
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is like like 5 years ago, that was satire, right? Where like you take a baby carriage and you put it at the top of a hill and you slide it down to get attention, but there's no baby in it, and everyone panics and the joke's on them because there was no baby and it was just a doll that bounced out. Now people are like really trying to like catch the baby and be like, I saved the baby.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're facing a gun crisis. We're facing identity crisis. We're facing
obesity crisis, chronic disease crisis, a trust crisis. Yes,
you know what? Those aren't crises. We're facing a mental health crisis.
Yes,
and these are all symptoms of that. And I believe that. Anyways, let me pause there. I know we're gonna go, but I just watched a clip on Instagram. It was a Mark Twain video. I don't know why I'm saying this now, because I think there's something else going on. He said, you take 100 black ants and 100 red ants, you put them in a jar, you put the lid on it. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to fight. They're going to go to war. They're going to try and kill each other. They don't. They just live in harmony. They're fine. Now put 100 red ants and 100 black ants in a jar, shake it up and set it down. What happens? They start to attack each other violently.
Yes.
Well, what's going on? Well, the red ants think that the black ants are the aggressor, and the black ants think that the red ants are the aggressor.
Yeah.
But really, if you take a step back and you stop, who was the aggressor? You, the person shaking the jar.
Right.
That's the world we live in right now. Let's identify who's shaking the jar. We don't have a problem with men versus women, sexual orientation versus sexual orientation, old versus young, black versus white. We don't have that. There's something else, and it's somebody on the outside, or a group of bad actors on the outside are shaking this jar that we're all in, and it's making us attack each other to their benefit, right? In the case of the ants, and maybe it's for science, maybe it's for some sadistic pleasure, but in our world, it's hard not to believe that it's not a power and a financial, if not those two are very, wed together, these aggressors. And we need to stop fighting each other and pointing fingers at each other that, hey, this is because it's not, it's something else. And we need to rally against that by staying in harmony with each other. It got me thinking. That's I was just saw that yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, and it's been on my mind ever since. I think it's related. I totally drifted our conversation.
No. It's fantastic. I want to propose that simultaneously that even I want to propose this to you. Remember how we were saying, like, if you have a thought, you can't cure it with another thought, that you have to like accept this. There's situations you have to accept and let them move through you. I want to propose to you that even if that is true, even if we find out that the jar has been shaken, the good news is, at the end of the day, we have individually control to be a good aunt and not be a bad aunt because someone tells us we have to be a bad aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about this on the show yesterday. I think a huge part of I truly think I'm onto something here. I think mental illness, that there's some ratio of taking responsibility for yourself versus blaming others that leads to mental illness. So someone who's taken complete and utter responsibility and accountability for themselves is enlightened. And there is a just pure happiness. And someone who is blaming and always looking on the outside world, once you cross a certain threshold and you've given away that much control, you are now mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's some sort of ratio there. So as much as that what you're saying might be true that's happening, we can't if we give away that power, then we can identify it, but then still not blame them or need them to stop in order to take control and fix the problem.
Yeah, but by identifying them, it helps inform our decision-making processes and behaviors.
Yeah.
Right.
If I find out that you're telling some guy, hey, call Sevan every day, tell him he's a midget and a piece of shit, and I find out it's you, at the end of the day, I still have to be like, hey, I'm not a midget and I'm not a piece of shit. And I know it's Tosh calling the guy and telling him to say that to me, but at the end of the day, it's still me.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to stop with me. And if I give away that control, or that maybe control is not the best word, that power to be of who I am, it goes back to what you were saying before. We know who the real, ownership, or we know who the real badass is. The badass is the guy who's just in total control, right, of himself, and like when he's going to, Then if you give too much of that away, it leads to mental illness, and those people are so unhappy. We all know them all around us, right? They've given away so much they've outsourced their observation, their authority, their self-control. They've just outsourced it all. I need these pills, this injection. I need to do this. I need to wear these clothes. I need to make this post. And it's like, fuck, like I hang out with you and I just know you're quackadoodle.
And it doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him a bad person at all.
No.
It just is like, hey, they need some help, or they need some guidance, or they just, or they're just lost a little bit. They need to be found.
When you're out at sea, I usually feel like I have to earn this question. I'm just gonna go there. Maybe I have earned it, maybe I haven't. But was there a point? Is there a definitive point for you that was your I don't know if lowest is the right word, but most insecure? Was there a point that stands out to you as like where you wanted to give away your power? Like your hardest point? You wanted to like blame? You wanted to like you felt almost like you felt like power was draining off of you, and you'd be like, whoa, pull your shit together, dude. There's no one coming for me.
There was no point during the row that I wanted that, or that I allowed myself to go down that road.
Awesome.
I think there was points on that row that it started to creep up, and there was some time component before I realized that was happening, and I said no, and refused it. The row for me was exceptionally
Why say
hard.
no? Why say no?
Because I'm the ownership piece, the same thing that we're talking about. It's like my mind is going towards this or going towards that, or it's placing blame, or it's wanting to be a victim, or it's wanting to yield. I never wanted that. I never had something going on for me so big that I would want that in order to make this valid and okay. Like I refused all of that. Refused it because it wasn't good. It wasn't honest. It wasn't productive. It wasn't aligned with goals, values, and they were just ugly thoughts that pop in. we all have, every human being has ugly thoughts pop in.
Right.
Ugly, ugly, ugly. That's the devil. That's an evil thing, and we all have it. And we're all on our different growth curves to be able to keep that in check, keep it in the cage. And some people better than others. And so the hardest part for the row for me wasn't physical, nothing with that. There was times that were hard, but paling in comparison to this inside my head of wanting to be the best teammate, wanting to control those thoughts that were trying to seep outside of the cage, or the mind's mind trying to work against me. I spent an inordinate amount of internal resources thinking about these things and trying to be the best possible teammate and pushing and driving.
During the trip?
Yeah, it was exhausting managing relationships and team dynamics and personalities and the ebbs and the flows of moods and everything, and just trying to be here. And there was times when I would start to drift, and maybe it was 5 seconds, maybe it was instantaneous, maybe it was 10 minutes before it was like, oh, well, wait a minute, put that in check. Let's process this and let's implement some corrections here and move on. And I'm very, very proud, which is hard for me to say. I usually don't say this. I'm working with my relationship with pride to say that it never went on for very long at all. I was able to have tremendous, and I failed once. And I wasn't the person that I wanted to be.
You yell at someone?
Yeah, I was a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And there was a little snap, and
Like an
recognizing that a snap happened, and it was like, oh fuck, and then didn't correct it. And then there was also like, hey, I thought I was doing this, and it was having, the intentions were pure and good, but it wasn't the right manner to do what I was trying to achieve, and it was having a negative effect on somebody. And then a couple of days later, that person erupted and had a lash out, and it was like, oh fuck, thought I was so aware, and this whole time I was doing these things because I thought it was having this effect, and it was having an opposite effect. And I was really, really down on myself for not having realized that and been able to autocorrect on my own. We had beautiful relationships and trust amongst all 4 teammates. And so when that happened, I was able to just receive it and like, oh fuck, like, okay, cool, this person needs to do that. I was having and process all of that. But it was a failure on my part. And that was one time, because all the other times when I felt like I wanted to do something or say something, when it was coming out of a moment of frustration or fatigue or confusion, I would recognize that was happening and be like, no, Tosh, don't say that. Don't act that way. Don't respond this way. That's not this. That's not this. You're doing all the mental math, and then you correct that immediate, and you just temper it and you control it, and then you have the response that's best suited for the situation. And I wrestled with that the entire 33 and a half days. But I did have one moment that I'm like, fuck, I really fucked that up. And I'd been fucking it up for a couple of days, and I didn't realize that this was having that effect. It wasn't the intention.
The wrong motivational tool. I keep picturing this as you're trying to motivate someone, and instead you were hurting their feelings or something, for example. And then when you found that out, you had to, there becomes a conflict between like your pride versus your goal of getting the boat across the finish line in world record time. Those two kind of butt up against each other. That's
damn near exactly it. You know, and not only motivating
like that with
somebody
kids,
else,
when you know you fuck up and you need to say sorry to them, but you're like, or your wife, right?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I just raised my voice at her. I need to say sorry right away, but she deserves it. Well, what, dude? Who said that? You know what I mean?
Sometimes the apology needs to happen right away, and sometimes the apology is best left for later. And understanding that, instead of just immediately making the apology.
Yeah.
You know. And so, anyways, like, part of motivating other people too is motivating myself. And sometimes I'm acting and behaving in a way that I'm using to motivate me, to spirit me through, maybe.
Right.
And it's coming out, and it's
right.
You know, but it's the wrong tool, or the wrong, righty tighty, lefty loosey, except you're trying to tighten something up and you're going the wrong way.
Right.
And so I spent a lot of time that's where I dork out, and I wasn't as big and developed as a person as I thought I was, given that time frame, and I corrected it. This happened around just before halfway through the trip, and was able to correct it. And again, blessed with some phenomenal teammates that just also accept that too. Like, we're all imperfect, and we accept each other's imperfectness, and sometimes that means getting confrontational, getting in each other's faces, and sometimes that means just, hey, you know what, you're fucking wrong, but I don't need to sit there and argue and be confrontational. The shoe don't fit, I'm not gonna wear it, but you need to try to put the shoe on me.
Right.
And so managing all those different techniques and styles and stuff like that was very, very exhausting. That was the hardest part of the trip. And really what happened was, we had a point in the boat where all of a sudden our goalpost moved, and I was pissed. We're supposed to be rowing to win, and it's not fucking happening. And now because you don't think we can win, or maybe we can't win, but now that means we're going to change the intent behind that goal statement. And we're at the halfway point, and the next thing you know, the row became a row to, hey, let's just get across there and let's just finish this, and let's build on our relationships and have a spiritual journey and have some fun. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I didn't piss away 2.5 years of my life for this, to fucking 2.5 years. And now the last 2% of the 2.5 year journey, the last 1%, we're gonna make a change, and it's gonna fucking.
Do you say that out loud? I picture the four of you rowing, and you're like, fuck that, I'm not here to have fun. And someone's like, okay, fuck it, stop having fun, let's go back to winning. Is it lighthearted conversation but intense, or no, it's like dudes are yelling and rowing? And
this was an intense conversation exchange. It was good, it was healthy. I struggled with it a little bit, but I'm also one person on a 4-person boat. And I was the one then that had to make the change, and the way I process things is different than.
How about Chris's loyalty versus to you versus his loyalty to the boat? Did he ever, or vice versa, your loyalty to him versus your loyalty to the boat? Do those ever come in conflict? Like, no. I'm rowing with you. I'm siding with those guys that I would just want to get across the finish line and have fun. But fucking, I've been friends with Tosh for 20 years. I'm not going to fucking say that out loud. Yeah, fuck you guys. We're here to win.
Yeah, no. And I think that's another point of really how awesome our team was. The loyalty piece is very well balanced. Something I've been faced with, like blind loyalty, right? Like you could even call it, faith or something, like in leadership and commands. And I think that's where units go bad. I just got blind loyalty, or loyalty to an individual versus loyalty to a value or a cause or the team or the mission.
Right.
And it's like, hey, I had these goals for myself, and we had goals for the team. And during this row, we were achieving some of the goals for myself and not some of the others. And that was true for all the individuals. And we were trying to achieve the goals for the team, and they can come in conflict with each other. And you sometimes have to put your own personal goals aside in order for the goals of the group, knowing that the net result is going to be more positive than negative at the end, even though that maybe your cup wasn't as filled in these 3 areas, but they were still filled in these 4. And in fact, your cup got filled in a 7th one that you didn't even know it was a cup to even fill in the first place.
Right.
And that has been my experience through adventure racing, expeditioning for the last 20 years in small teams. And it's something that I was a conversation with Nicole, like, as we try to, what is that about you? You come back from these things and you're really pissed about this one thing, but it was such a great experience, but this one thing you're not getting for yourself, and you had to give this up for the group or the team. And what is that? Why do you find yourself in these same positions all the time? And just trying to dissect that.
Wow, that's some good shit, dude.
Yeah. And so that's what the last 2 months have been about for me. Thinking about that, expectation management, and how am I continually setting myself up in these
Why does every one of my
situations?
friendships end up like this? Why does every one of my girlfriends end up like this? How come every time I get in this same fight with my son?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you're just like, whoa, I'm done. Yeah. And you have to start really looking at yourself, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. And at that point, it's not if you're right or wrong. You're trying to, you want a different outcome.
Yeah, seek first to understand.
I apologize to so many of you. I'm seeing the questions pour in the side, and I haven't given you guys a very good big perspective. I've just
Where are
jumped in
these
with
questions
Tosh.
at? How come I can't see these questions? Oh shit! Hit the
I
comments
see him
button.
on the back end. Let me ask Tosh some real superficial questions here, and so we can paint the picture. Tosh, your journey, how many miles, you and how many guys were going to row across the Atlantic?
Our boat was 4. There was 44 teams total. Probably a little over 100 people.
How many miles was
120.
the journey?
Our boat finished 2,700 something miles was our path.
And as the crow flies, how many miles is it? Do you know?
Like 26.
Oh, so you did a great job. And how many days did it take you?
33 and a half.
And was anyone injured on the boat of the 4 guys?
Some bumps and some bruises when we got into really big weather. A lot of blistering, chafing, some superficial like knee stuff, back pain, neck pain. Hands were crampy, but nothing significant that we had to manage or deal. No head injuries or anything like that.
The food on the boat. How did you guys get food and water? I'm trying to paint this picture for you guys.
Yep.
We're going to blast through some of these so we can get a picture of this situation. I apologize. That was just crazy because we did another podcast before and I just jumped in without painting this for you guys. Food and water. How did you guys do that?
1 second. I just came across the comment. Shield of Doctor. He's such a head case. He's lucky they didn't throw him overboard. Great patience and kindness. You know, what's funny is sometimes I just had this conversation the other day. Like,
don't ever read the comments. Let me read them.
Hey, Shield, you're a pussy. That's what I say to you. It's okay to piss a couple people off, right? Anyways,
how did you guys get food and water?
We were all unsupported. So we had to bring everything possible on the boat. There was no resupply or anything like that. So we had dehydrated meals and we had a desalinator operating off all solar power.
Sevi doesn't want him seeing the comments because of people like me. No, Dick Butter, your favorite kind. David, don't be an asshole. I'm trying to paint. He's making fun of my questions I'm asking. He wants me to ask what's your favorite ice cream. There is what about would people just start talking to themselves on the boat? Like, so, sometimes I'll be driving and I'll have the kids in the car and I'll start to get tired and I'll just start making noises.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that, especially when we get tired.
I'll start just making noises.
Of the night,
they start laughing at me. Yeah, okay.
Self-motivation, just banter. Chris and I call it chatter.
Were there rules?
There's a lot of that.
Were there rules to like the like there's guys sleeping down below, don't yell or
Nah, it was consideration, courtesy, kindness,
Okay.
There was that, and sometimes you'd forget, and it was just simple. Hey man, so and so sleeping. It's like, oh shit, sorry, yeah, I forgot, like or whatever. But we really did. We all operated from a phenomenal place of mutual respect, common courtesy, decency, and that was awesome.
I'm going to show a picture of the. Would you say you had fun?
Yeah, absolutely. Brian talks about it as a second order fun. How does he call it?
Who's Brian? One of those guys on the
team
boat?
Captain. Yeah, guy on the far left. We do these hard things and you push yourself and maybe you're not having fun in the moment because of the challenge or the exertion or things like that. But afterwards, type 2 fun, I think he calls it. But like afterwards, it's like, man, that was fun,
Right.
For sure.
That's the part that I was also ties into what I was saying, that these were your CEUs. This is your continued education, or CETs, continued education training. It's afterwards that you get to really use the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only afterwards. Don't read the comments.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can tell them. I'm gonna close them. I want to close them.
It's unhealthy. You can. I'm just. No. You can. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to figure out why I wouldn't like Dick Butter. Like, he seems like a cool cat, man.
Oh, he's such a cool cat. He's so funny. And there's another guy in here called Richard Margarine. So there's a Dick Butter and a Richard Margarine.
This is awesome. Yeah.
This crew, there's a pretty big crew that comes in here every morning. It's quite
great.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, I'm closing that bad boy. I'm thinking enough, like, whatever, man. You don't like me, you don't like me. It's fine. Like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm some people's cup of tea. It's fine.
Well, I think it's a little short-sighted to think that everyone on there wasn't a to use that person's words, a head case. If you put 4 people on a boat for 30 days and there's nowhere to go, it's not like a boat where there's anywhere you can escape. You're on top of each other, right?
Yeah. I would, it's funny. Like, I'm a head case. Like, I'm not a head case. Like, I'm pretty fucking dialed. I'm very introspective, and I'm processing afterwards and whatever, but I'm not a fucking head case, I think living a life of introspection is important, and
Very.
recognizing where you struggle and what you think, why you think. And I fascinate about this. Some people, they just like to play poker, and that's what they immerse their lives in. Some people,
I don't
just
think
like
those people
to,
have a rich life, buddy.
I don't think that's not a fair judgment.
I'm gonna make it. If you're not introspective, I don't think you live a very rich life.
Maybe you're just that much of a badass that you don't have to be because you're so perfect. But I do. I dork out. About that's my field. I dork out about leadership and mental processes. And hey, man, I struggled in life. I struggled. How many years ago now? 9 years ago. 8 years ago. 7 years ago. I was struggling really bad for about 5 years.
Straight?
And then about 7 years ago, I finally just decided to get some counseling and talk and start to process some things.
Like someone you paid someone to sit down with someone.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to pay because I was going through the VA.
Oh.
And man, I'm so much better. I'm so much better now by having these thoughts and having these questions and learning. And so, yeah, if it's a head case to somebody else, it's okay because I'm so much more healthy right now, and that's good. And so I'll never take insult to that or use that to try to, because that's just somebody else trying to make a comment to have ownership over my headspace. Like, no, posted, and you don't get to come in here and do that. This is private property. What's going on up here? You don't get ownership on my land,
But by the way, this person sent this way before that other comment came in. This came in early in the show. Tosh's mentorship program is life-changing. Jill Larson.
She's a cool woman. Yep.
Oh, I appreciate her money. Her money. That's for sure. Thank you. What about this? We're going to go through a whole show not talking about your boating thing again. Crazy. What about this? What happens? I'm kind of going through this now. It's subtly, it's weird. What happens as you get older and you can't medicate with the same kind of fitness that maybe you used to medicate with? What will we do? What are we going to do as we get older?
What am I? I mean, I'm self-medicating with fitness still. Maybe it's not trying to go to the CrossFit Games anymore or trying to have Ripper be who I used to be. There's an acceptance that I'm not going to be, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to still strive to be as close to that as possible.
Yeah, because it wasn't enough for you to row across. You wanted to set the record.
Yeah. Well, so there's an itch. I still have an itch.
Yeah.
There's some ideas happening. But I'm prioritizing some other things in my life right now. And those things are important to my overall health, well-being, and the people that I love and I'm surrounded with. So, I'm focusing on the Big Fish Foundation, which is veteran nonprofit work. I'm focused on my business, the Crooked Butterfly, that delivers Diesel Days and the Hard Way Project, and I'm focused on my relationships. And so I'm using that for it. It doesn't mean that I'm not still going to go out and do some adventures, but I'm kind of reining it in right now, doing some smaller things to enjoy those with people that I want to spend time with the most. And I get it. Something that's exhilarating or adventurous or really challenging for me is well outside of somebody else's capabilities or comfort zone. And so I want to back into their comfort zones or near comfort zones and experience with them. And that's also true with my hunting. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go out and hunt and harvest more animals and, fill the freezer, have the experience. But I'm finding more pleasure in bringing out younger adults and friends that haven't had the privilege or the luxury or the success that I've had, and giving them that opportunity. And that's why I do a lot of these vet hunts and trying to take people overseas to do some hunting and guiding people and stuff like that. So
Watch porn and eat Snickers.
I do that already, Dave. I already do that, man.
That's setting the bar a little low. It's interesting you say that. So there's this fine line between really enjoying, like going out with my kids and really enjoying them skate. And then someone says, why don't you learn how to skate? And I said, because I don't want to hurt myself. But you can't let that become a crutch. And I'm going to propose this to you. What do you think about as you get older, working on more technical things? Again, like maybe learning to brush your teeth with your left hand, learning to throw an axe with your left hand, learning to pull the bow both ways. You know, as the body, still challenging the self, but sort of adjusting it for technical and skills, as opposed to, you know, like, hey, I'm gonna row across the Atlantic. That's great, but I'm not gonna set the world record. It doesn't seem much of a dial turn down for me, but there's got to be a smart way to do it.
Experience the things that you love just
so you don't
through
get
different
injured.
ways, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're saying. Like, hey, I love shooting the bow right-handed because I'm good at it. Well,
Right.
learn to shoot a left-handed bow. Like,
Right.
experience the same thing that you love and enjoy in a different way that presents more challenge.
And it still brings ego satisfaction though too. It's not a 3-minute fram, but there'll be some you can still get some ego satisfaction, as opposed to when you share stuff with younger people. It's like this weird. It's a different kind of satisfaction. You know what I mean? It's not ego. It's like it's stuff you can't even imagine being a young man, enjoying other people's success. I would have never thought I could enjoy people's success as much as I do.
Right. I mean, I think, man, being a father,
yeah,
and having children and like seeing your children's success, it brings a different, like, yeah, hey, like watching my son harvest his first animal on a hunt, that brought me back. And it was like, oh my God, I'm so much more excited for him than I am for myself now when I harvest something. And enjoying the same things through other people and providing opportunity, that excites me.
Matt Schindeldecker, this guy was on the podcast. Fucking insane podcast. Amazing story. This guy went through some intense trauma as a young man, and now years later is using his experience from that trauma to help so many kids, dude. I waited 40 years to seek counseling. Being trauma informed is so important, especially if we are leading or coaching others. Thank you, Tosh, for sharing that. What does he mean, trauma informed? You know?
Being able to process it in a positive way, being more informed about the trauma and being able to utilize it in a constructive manner and not being a victim, like you said. Why didn't I seek counseling before? It's because of pride and because I didn't need it. I was good. I was managing, right? And it was this Army Sergeant Major at the VA who sat down and talked to me. And he was like, yeah, hey, cool. But the fact that you're having to manage it is a problem, not a problem. But that's the word he used. And I don't process it as a problem. It's like, yeah, it's a shame that you have to manage it so hard. You have to spend so much energy to manage it, because you're only gonna be able to manage it until you can't. Right. And inevitably something's going to happen that's going to pull your resource away that allows you not to have enough energy to manage that problem. And it's going to bubble and bubble and bubble. And then in worst case, it's going to explode. So let's figure out how to manage better and how to sort of like acknowledge and accept, and it started me on the process of talking and sharing, accepting vulnerability. And when I got into this space of trying to impact against veteran suicide, largely my reputation was like, that's Major Chontosh. Like, he's this and this and this and this, and oh my God, he doesn't have these feelings, and he's not ever this and never that and never that. And it's like, and you get proud. I'm proud of that. And also that was my role too, as an officer of infantry Marines in combat. Like, you can't be the leadership commodity and show that you're scared and show weakness and show vulnerability, because that gives permission for other people to have it. And that's what gets people killed, make bad decisions. And so I was kind of acculturated through that. And then I had some phenomenal mentors, Pat Millay, Dan Healy, who's actually coming up next weekend to just spend some quality time together, and taught me to grow up a little bit. Like, you're not 25 years old anymore. There's a reason why you get gray hair, and you're supposed to sit back and be a thinker and a little bit deeper and wiser and let the young guys do the young guy stuff. And that's what they're supposed to do. And you're not that young guy anymore. Like, you're not the trigger puller anymore. You're not the this. It doesn't, and it's okay. Let the other people have that, because there were people that were before you that had to let you have it. And anyways, it's just through a lot of cool conversation. And but anyways, I went and I talked about it when I launched my podcast in the very beginning, and I was talking about a lot of this stuff, and it was really a podcast that originated conversations I wanted to have with my kids that I don't. And then it turned into a lot of self-exploration for me and working through problems out loud, which helped. And I just allowed other people to eavesdrop on my conversations through my podcast. And that was in the beginning. And I talked about being vulnerable, and I started sharing my vulnerability authentically, not to wear it as a point of pride, not to wear it as a badge or a ribbon to say, look at me, I'm
not play victim for attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
To do it genuinely, because I was seeking healing and I was doing it. And that allowed other people to accept their vulnerability that maybe they were building walls around. And I found that through being able to be vulnerable, I was helping people, because it allowed them to be vulnerable too at a time when it was okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. And to seek counseling and seek help, and the feedback was tremendous. And like, man, Tosh, like, just hearing you helped me, and then it gave me the confidence that it was okay. I wasn't letting you down because I was feeling these weak things, and I wasn't allowed to share that I was feeling these things. But I didn't want to share them, and because I feel like I'm letting you down, or I'm letting my brother down, or these other people. And I'm like, yo, no, you're not anymore. It's not it at all. In fact, you're letting them down more by not dealing with it and doing what you can to be healthy, right? Like, you can only you got a puncture wound in your arm, and it's like, it's bleeding. Well, I'm going to ignore it. Well, it's still going to bleed, and eventually you're going to run out of blood. Like, you have to dress the bandage. You have to treat the wound. And so by allowing people to see the vulnerability that I had and the thoughts around it, allowed them to start seeing their own wounds so that they could then address them. And it's been powerful. It's helped me. It's changed my life in the last 10 years. And it feels good. And that now by starting this nonprofit, it's given me purpose and a new mission, and supporting the cause in a different way. And so it's funny too, like, there's another Nicole, when I came back from the row, I recovered really quick. I didn't really have a lot of residual recovery issues. And I mean, some aches and some pains and some this and some that, and, some, whatever. But then when I got back home, finally, when we got back home to Boulder from Antigua, like 2 days later, I started to get sick and started feeling bad, and tired, and energy sapped, and in my head, just kind of an ennui. And Nicole's like, yeah, hey, like, your body, your mind finally said you're safe, and it's allowing yourself to be sick.
Oh,
your mind was keeping you from being this way for so long. And I've seen you do it through so many things. And that's all that's happening, is you feel safe enough now to be sick. So just be sick and take care of yourself.
Because you were on this fucking harrowing journey on a fucking rowboat across the Atlantic. Oh my God.
You should be a filmmaker. Well, you are a filmmaker.
And your body knew it. And your body knew it.
Yeah, and the mind was strong enough to refuse it. Like, you will not be sick right now. You will not be sick. You don't have permission to be sick. And you just, boom, and you're so here. And then finally it's like, hey, the mind is recognizing, like, it's okay to be now. You're home. You're with loved ones. You have your resources. Like, just go ahead and have that.
Sick. Curl up in a ball and get sick. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did.
Did you enjoy that? Getting sick? That when you got back at all? Did any part of you enjoy that?
I don't know if I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Nicole having that revelation and being able to articulate it to me that way, because it made me okay.
When you say it's weird talking to a soldier, because when you say you went to counseling, like, all of us have like shit that happened to us, right? Mm-hmm. Uncle Buck fondled you in the back of the pickup truck. Your fucking dad beat you. Did you whatever fucking horrors that happened to fucking us from the day we're born to, but then so you have that, just a normal life of just shit that could have gone sideways with you, right? Being raised by adults. And then you go to war, and then you have to deal with the loss of life, but then also what I've learned from interviewing soldiers is explosions, right? Shit blowing up around you that's traumatic for the fucking for the brain. The brain doesn't like loud fucking massive explosions happening around it. Are those the three pieces? Like when you go to counseling, do you have to are those the three pieces? Am I understanding you right? Whatever happened, whatever your life is first, you know, like maybe mom forgot maybe it's not Uncle Buck fondled you, maybe it's mom forgot your birthday, you know, then it's friends and family, people dying around you and death, and then also explosions, head trauma, physical head trauma. Are those the three?
I don't necessarily. I'm just getting into some head trauma stuff. I'm excited. If the government ever gives me my DD-214, I'll be able to get this new treatment. Chris is getting it right now.
Is it hyperbaric chamber shit?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. But again, I'm waiting for the government to give me my DD-214, which I should already have, but I didn't have the full. Anyways, long story. But I'm excited to get the brain scan and start seeing what this treatment is. Another buddy.
That's just supposed to be magical, dude. No one has anything bad to say about that shit. Everyone's like, holy shit. People don't even know how it works.
Yep. I'm excited. So I don't really, that's something that I'm just starting to address now. And I don't really address my life stuff. I mean, I could, and then, you know, being around the death and everything, maybe that's part of it, but more, the biggest thing I talk about is the guilt and my conscience of the horrific things that I've had to do to other human beings.
Right.
The horrific things that I've had to ask other men to do to other human beings, and some replay of, man, I could have done this, I could have done that. That's really where the bulk of my stuff goes that I wrestle with. The horrific things. Like there's a couple that I just see. It's like, yeah, hey man, that was just really fucking powerful. But that's the kind of the bulk of the stuff that I talk about.
And stuff that I guess I'm trying to think of stuff in my life, stuff that maybe you wish you could rewind. If you could do it again, you would have done it different.
Yeah, and I have a really good place with that. I know rationally how to process that. It's like, hey, we can never rewind and rewind in our heads and go back to the exact same moment and be privy to all of the instantaneous and immediate and very real energies of that moment. We only, our ability for self-reflection can only go so far, and there's selective reflection and forgetfulness and whatever and not. And it's easy to armchair quarterback and then live a life of remorse or regret. What I do have in my conscience is that no matter what, I was doing the best that I could given the information I had and the circumstances I had at the time, that I didn't get the results that I wanted every single time or that I optimally desired. But there was an incredible amount of best effort given.
And there was thank times, God you have that. That's huge, right? And that's huge.
And I was at a place in Fallujah when I got done with Fallujah, and my boss was like, "Hey, Tosh, it's time for you to go back to the States." And I didn't want to go. He's like, "No, it's time." And it's like ego starting to come in. Victor's disease is starting to happen.
What's that? What's Victor's disease?
Hit the Googles.
Okay.
It started with Napoleon. He was so successful, always winning. And even though every single piece of data pointed that he shouldn't have gone to the Eastern Front against Russia in the middle of winter, he decided to anyways, because it didn't matter. He always won. He was always successful. Shit always came up smelling like a rose type stuff, that he did it anyways, and it had catastrophic, effects, results, consequences. And I had Pat Millay was my boss, good friend, mentor, amazing officer. It was like, "Hey, Tosh, it's time for you to go back to the States. We're going to put you at the basic school. You're going to have some amazing people there to help you through that." And I was surrounded by some phenomenal peers and superiors at the basic school that really caught that ego, caught that Victor's disease, caught that whatever was going on, and put it back in check. I was blessed. I was fortunate, lucky.
It's interesting you say that, as some of our mutual friends have talked to me about the same thing, about getting pulled out and not wanting to leave and being really pissed. I trained my whole life to do this. I don't want to abandon my teammates. And then they said in hindsight, they look at the people who stayed and they're like, holy shit, they dodged a bullet. He goes, they're either fucking dead or batshit crazy. Like, like a man has a threshold of how much they can do.
Yeah. Well, in my case, it was kind of the opposite of that. I didn't want to go. I was kind of on leave anyways. I wasn't even supposed to be in Fallujah. I was supposed to be at the basic school for orders well before that.
To teach?
Yeah, to be an instructor. And I was there. We fought and had an incident where JP Blacksmith was killed, and I had some
at the school or
no, in Fallujah, right?
Okay.
We're fighting, and one of my lieutenants was killed, and I didn't. Yeah, it wasn't right. And I talked to my boss about it, and next thing you know, some people are coming down. Hey, a lieutenant was killed, and it was JP, and his father was an iconic figure in the Marine Corps. Him and Father Capodanno received the Medal of Honor, or Father Capodanno received the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. Well connected, big name, and he was just killed. And so now I got these generals coming down and whatever. And I remember being at the top of this roof, overlooking the incident and replaying it for them so that they could do whatever they needed to do. And General Natonsky was like, "Hey, Tosh, what are you doing here?" I remember this clearly. And I was like, "Oh, I'm fighting a war, sir." And he's like, "Hey, don't be a smart ass. Like, what are you still doing here? Aren't you supposed to be at the basic school?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, sir, but like, this is more important. This is what I'm called to do, whatever. And, then there was some other things in the little heated conversation with this retired colonel. We won't mention his name. Fuck that guy. But
so sorry, let me just paint this. So there's you, a couple generals, and a retired colonel sitting on a roof, and there was an unfortunate incident where one of your friends was killed, and you're relaying it to them, and this colonel piped off on you too in there.
He pulled me aside and gave me some advice, we'll say, and
Okay.
I was like, "Fuck you." But anyways, General Natonsky said, "Well, when are you supposed to be at the basic school?" I said December 1st. He's like, "When do you need to leave?" And I said November 28th. I'm gonna do this and this and this, and it was all figured out. And so we had finished clearing to MSR Michigan. We were reorganizing. We were going to do some back clearing, moving our AO. We were accepting another unit's AO to go do some back clearing and whatnot. And November 28th came around, and I basically got a ride with Gunny back to pick up my shit, to drive to another to Blue Diamond and get a helicopter ride, to get another ride, I'm still in. I mean, I was straight out of Fallujah for 20 days of fighting, 30 days, whatever, how many days it was. And I still had my camis on from the fighting, jumped on a civilian plane to Atlanta and just flew to Baltimore, got picked up in Baltimore by a couple buddies, and then slept at their house that night and reported for duty the next day. And
holy shit, aren't you supposed to go? So when you say fighting, you mean real fighting. You were doing like real fighting, bullets flying, people dying, like, and then aren't you supposed to go to Germany for a week and like they stick needles and check your temperature and like assimilate you?
Yeah, transition program.
Yeah.
And at the time it was just starting, and I short circuited that because I was supposed to report for duty. But anyways, where the conversation was going was it's just the guilt stuff, right? The victor's disease. And then sometimes you come back, you made the comment, you come back and then you look back and then everybody was wiped out. And it's like, oh my God, all that, I just escaped that. Well, for me, I'm back at Quantico, and 2 days later, I get a message that Paul Rund was killed, Lance Corporal Rund. And it fucking crushed me because, the immediate thoughts, like, well, if I was there, it never would have happened. Right? Fuck this. And I was angry. I was really, really angry, hurt. And the funny thing, at the day that I left to say goodbye to the company, I was a company commander, had like 186 guys, attachments and stuff, and just kind of saying goodbye to everybody. Paul Rund was the guy. They found one of those old 80s jukebox that you put on your thing. It's got the cassette deck, and somehow he found one of those going through when we were going through the city, and there was a cassette tape, and it was a Sarah McLachlan cassette tape, and he played this song, "I Will Remember You." And that was like the last time I saw Paul. It was the last time I saw the company in full like that. And every time that song comes on, it crushes me because Paul played it the day that I left when I shouldn't be leaving, and then he was killed. And so, I mean, I think that's the stuff, not so much, oh, I got out of there and everybody died and I'm alive and now I have guilt because I'm alive and they're dead. That's not it at all. It's I should have been back. I should have been there still. I should have still fucking been there. And that's the emotions and the feelings inside. And I know
Right.
rationally there's a million other possibilities. I could have stayed there and Pat Millay was absolutely right. And I got more people killed because I was suffering from this pride, this ego, this stuff, and your own success, right? And so I wrestle back and forth. Like I accept the emotional side and I allow myself to feel that, but I also rationally can say, hey, that's not fair. You can't hold on to that because there's an infinite number of possibilities that could have been even worse than that had you had not come out, and you just can't change. You have to learn how to manage and live with that instead of being so pigeoned on the emotional side and let that dictate the rest of your life. And so I'm not articulating the full processing of that because I don't want to appear as a head case. So right.
Hey, these so man, so physically, I mean, you put your life on the margins of what I say from sitting in my plush podcast studio in Santa Cruz, California. You put yourself physically on the margins of death. I'll just say it. Rowing across the Atlantic. And then you survive these experiences, and you come out stronger and wiser, and you share the stuff. And obviously the relationship, not only with yourself on that boat, but with those 4 other guys, is you if you don't reflect on that and process that's where. So that I guess, God, there's got to be a great metaphor. Basically, you did that trip, and now processing it and living through it and dealing with it and coping with that trip is what makes you stronger and able to give more to other people. That at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's not enough just to do it. Then you have to come back and be like, okay, I'll replay this. I should have handled Brian differently. I should have just done this to Chris, replace him. How did this? Oh, that was very successful when the 4 of us came together and did that. That's really good. And so so your war experience is the exact same thing. It's like this guy, Matt Decker. And so, right, he's saying, I agree with Tosh. That's the key. The individuals we coach also come into our facilities, also struggle with their own trauma, and coaches should be training in how to handle those conversations. He goes on to say, I agree with Tosh. Individuals walking into our boxes, affiliates walking with their own trauma, coaches should at least have some training on how to walk through those conversations. But you're now you're not letting any of these situations go to waste. You have now seen that you're going to pull them all together for the things like the big fish, the diesel days, and I apologize. There's one more.
The Hardway Project. Yeah.
The Hardway Project.
Yeah. I feel a sense of obligation to share it.
Well, it's what you're fucking good at. It's what you're fucking good at too.
That's what I'm interested in.
Right.
Some people go on these adventures and it's for self-serving purposes, because they need to, and they don't need to share it. They don't want to share it. They're not wired to share it. And that's totally fine. That's not me. I'm over here where I do these things for those reasons, for sure. But also I am wired to feel like I have an obligation to leverage those experiences to share in order to help people dream big, achieve big, manage their shit, take ownership of their life, whatever. And that's just how I'm wired, and one guy on the team is upset with me because I share and some things on other podcasts, and he felt slighted and he got pissed, and like, dude, I'm not wired that way to fucking keep it a secret. Like, there's certain things that I didn't share, and and I didn't put certain names out. And the only reason I'm talking about the experience is because it was life-changing for me, or I had a revelation, and I think it could be valuable for others.
Right.
And in fact, the fact that you're choosing to ignore all the places where I gave you specific credit and how you were awesome.
Right.
Because of this. And it's like, hey, you wear your guilt because you have something inside that you're aware of and it resonates. You wear the shoe, but I'm not putting a shoe on you. I'm leveraging my experiences to share for that, not to point fingers at myself and make myself look big, and not to cut you off at the knees to make you look shorter so that I can appear bigger. And I also don't exclude the opportunities where I failed during those experiences, or where I've struggled, or where I wasn't the best that I could have been. And, like, hey, you want to talk about it? We can talk about it, or go fuck yourself. And I really hope we get to talk about it sometime, because I really love the guy, but the fact that he's insulted right now and butt sore, hey man, sorry you feel that way. Maybe you need to, do some introspection and figure out how you can be okay with it, because that's not my intent, and that's not how I'm wired, and you know me better than that.
Well, there's obviously going to be struggles rowing across the there's obviously going to be struggles rowing across the Atlantic with 4 dudes.
Right.
And talking about those things is part of the adventure, right? I mean, that's the cool shit. Speaking of that, if you and I are going to walk to from California to New York, there's only certain routes, and let's say everyone's going to have to walk across Nevada, right? Is going to war the same thing, being a young man who goes to war? Is there no way around this journey that you did? Like, does every man, is there that cliche journey that's just like, hey, yeah, that's the path. You go there, you're full of fucking cum. You go there, you get the gun, you fight, obviously with degrees. There's some serious hardships and realizations that come with war. You come back and you push it down with fitness or alcohol, and then at some point you either that kills you and you die of cancer, or you face it and come out the other side. And then the last chapter is you help other men get through it. Is that and then the only thing that's changed throughout time is the different tools we have for sharing it. They didn't have podcasts fucking 20 years ago. You know what I mean? They didn't. Do you think is there any way around that? Is there any way, like, you can a young man can go to war, come back, and then just bake cakes and live happily ever after, and like have a wife, or it's not like that. It's
maybe there is, not for me.
But have you ever seen anyone? Have you ever seen that?
On the surface, for what I can see or sense or, infer, like, sure. But does that mean that there's not something else underneath the surface that not, like, probably,
right.
I don't know,
right.
the way that you framed it up sounds like a great movie.
Well, right? It just seems like everyone's, it's this fucking journey. I mean, that there's it's these archetypes of just shit we go through, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we've all had our first girlfriend and that ever broke up with us, and we all fucking know what that feels like. And if 1,000 of us told the story, you wouldn't be able to distinguish one from the other. You know what I mean? It's the story. Mm-hmm. The boy falls in love with girls. She ends up dating a friend. We could go home and cry to our mom. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, that, right? There's
probably a thread there that is, there's probably a thread or a theme that is generally
an unavoidable,
and then there's small
path.
Deviations of that, for sure, right? Like some branches and some sequels, but
I mean, there's tragedies. People kill themselves.
I mean, that's just how it is, I guess, but yeah, that's my journey right now. Just that. And I also refuse, like, I don't ever, like, that's why you don't see, I don't want to be it's Brian Chontosh, that's fucking the Marine War something fucking dude victim.
Right.
Like, I refuse to be known as just that, or tied to just that. I don't want to be. I want to be, I'm more than that. I don't want to be just the dude that rode across the ocean. I want to be something different. I'm not going to sit there and continually tie myself to that, because then it doesn't allow me any payout to keep growing, keep moving down the road, to be somebody because of that, and that, a product of all the experiences instead of just the experience.
You went, I saw, I don't know if it's old, but since you've come back from rowing across the Atlantic, you went to Argentina and went hunting.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was my present to myself for finishing the row, which I bought ahead of time. But
That's
That was
kind
my
of crazy.
treat.
That's kind of crazy. Does let me see if I can find a picture of that. Doesn't what's Nicole say about that? Is she like, hey, you haven't read? I mean, that's a pretty quick up and go. Shit, where is that picture?
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Yep, it was real quick. It was something that we talked about. It's like, you're going away already again. I'm like, yeah, and but also, it's like, hey, you need that. That's what you need. And so she she supported it. Like, to go.
Who's that dude? Is that a local?
That's Nick Shaver, a really good buddy of mine. And we went down there together. I invited him to come on the trip, and he said yes, and we got to go share that together. And we harvested those 2 deer within 5 minutes of each other. Just wild, really freaking cool, crazy opportunity.
Those are deer?
Red deer, red stag, yeah.
That's crazy.
So delicious too. So delicious. Like, I posted that picture and lost, like, I don't know, 500, 600 followers, whatever. And it's fine. I don't post to keep followers or get followers or anything. I just post my life to share. And if you find my life cool, then you'll follow. Like, that's fine.
You cold the herd.
I'm not mining for follows, right?
We're in an attention economy. You lost 500.
Yeah, exactly. Good callback. And so, anyways, like, that whole experience, was just great to be there with Nick and to talk and share and open up about things and meet new people and explore new places. And I met some amazing other fellow hunters that were at the camp with us, and this young gentleman, John, 17 years old, fabulous, his father and nephew or uncle, and it was cool. But as I posted in that picture, like, those animals fed dozens of people. We ate those.
Oh, you don't bring the meat. You don't bring the meat back with you.
No exportation laws, but so we, it fed the guides, it fed all the staff, it fed the hunters, it fed the hunters that are going to hunt after us.
Oh, that's cool.
It's super cool. Yeah, I don't hunt just to hang something on a wall. Like, it's much more involved.
What do you think about that, hunting just to hang something on a wall?
To each their own. I don't like it. I have a lot of animals hanging on my walls, but they're hanging on my walls as a way to honor them and to remember the experiences. And as I look at all of these animals,
do you understand it
go
at all?
Back in time. I have a trophy hunters, and I'm not bashing them. I just think they're wired a little different than the way I am and other people. They do it. There's an ego thing. There's an accomplishment thing. There's whatever else that they have going on, and that's there for me too, but just not to the greater degree of some of the other things. For why I choose to hunt, the challenge, the experience, the exploration,
the food,
the accomplishment, the food, the memories, the sharing with who I was, the circumstances around the hunt. And for every animal that I have on a wall, that was a success moment. Each one of these animals have dozens of unsuccessful moments tied to them, and so it represents so much more.
Dick Butter, I wonder how many of those 600 followers went and ate at Wendy's that day.
Yeah, probably a majority of them. I do. I like to be tied to my food sources, accept responsibility. I don't like to outsource, killing to other people for me. I do. I eat at Wendy's. It's fucking delicious. But there's no judgment there for people that just do or don't, or are for hunting or aren't for hunting. And that's where I find a lot of people that are super opinionated. They really rooted in judgment, that they're so voiceful about their opinion because they're so judgmental. And it's like, live and let live, teach their own. I'm a good person. My intentions are good.
I know it's a sensitive time around guns. Well, I mean, when is it not? But it would be interesting to take like 1,000 people who just completely detest guns and have them face that challenge of doing a 2-hour class every single day for 30 days or 60 days and immerse them in gun stuff. Take them out shooting, how to clean guns, how to load guns, make bullets, immerse them, and see how many of those 1,000 come out being like, wow, this is fucking cool. I had no, I mean, because I think that most people who detest guns know nothing about them, right? It's just all fear-based.
I don't know. Like, it's a gun is a tool, and it ultimately is the person behind the gun. and it's mental illness that are people that are using guns for purposes that are horrible. Right? They're misplaced, they're misguided, they're misinformed, whatever it is, no different than a car. There's more people that die in DUI fatalities every fucking year than there are gun violence, right? There's more people on the road that don't respect their vehicle speeds, traffic laws. They don't respect other people that are also on the road in their own vehicles, right? But they're still allowed to drive, and we still have cars.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, hey, I like guns. I like shooting. I like the challenge. I like hunting. I like.
But I think people accept cars because they see the value in them. But what I'm saying is, I think that most people who don't like guns, they know nothing about them. Just like most people who don't like hunting know nothing about it. I think.
Yeah, there's probably a good percentage there. Some people might not like
same
guns
as
because they've had a
racism.
horrible experience with them.
You don't like someone from a certain race because you know nothing about them. You could,
or you had a one bad experience, and so now
Right.
you're going to generalize everything.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're bad, inherently bad. Like it's an object. It's the intention behind whoever's utilizing the tool. So take away everybody's guns. Bad people, ill people are going to find another way to instrument their intentions in a bad way with some other tool. I don't want to get into politics and gun talk and shit like that. It's just ultimately it just comes down to.
Okay, let's talk about something more important.
Respect.
How much did that boat cost?
I think we were 180 grand was the total to get it outfitted and everything.
180K for a rowboat, 4-man rowboat.
Yeah, it was. We had it built brand new, carbon fiber, top of the line, because that supported our ambitions to set a record and win.
And where does it go now that you're done with it? What do you do with a rowboat?
We've sold it to another team that's going to compete in this race 2 years from now.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so we've sold that boat to them because we could have bought a used boat. In fact, the Spanish team, they're awesome. They won the race on a boat that was used. It actually won last year and the year before. We just bought a brand new boat. Ultimately, you try to optimize the equipment, but ultimately it comes down to you being more skilled to win. Equipment plays a part, but these guys were just so awesome, and their boat was great too. But
your boat was made of carbon?
Yeah, it was fiberglass and carbon. Yep.
And there was something there's something called an auto tiller on the boat that like makes it so you just row, and then it like basically steers the boat in the best trajectory. And yours broke, right, on the trip?
Yeah, we were in some stees. We were in 30 plus footers, big winds, and I think that the auto tiller, super awesome auto tiller, an Evo system, that I just think it was at the limits of its capabilities. It was probably being overworked. I mean, these seas and the way the boat was moving and the forces on it. We shorted it out once. One, because of our error, the boat was so weighted forward. We had more weight in the boat forward than back, that the rudder was out of the water more than it should have been. And when you're cresting these giant waves and then the auto tiller's trying to work and fire, that it tripped the fault. So we corrected that, and then the seas got worse the next day, 2 days later, and it actually sheared the threads from the stainless steel shaft that goes into the coupling. There's like 1.5 inches of threads, and the auto tiller is going. So there's so much force on it that it actually sheared the threads and stripped it all. Luckily, we had a second auto tiller on board. We had up redundancy too, and we were able to make some changes to the way.
Is it just flip a switch and it moves to the other one, or no? You have to do mechanic. Put on your mechanic's vest and get out there.
Yeah, you go dead in the water. You lose all steerage. You try to hand steer, which is very inefficient in seas like that. The boat wants to go where the water's telling it, and the winds are telling it someplace different. And
who changed it? Who changed the auto tiller?
I did.
You know how to do that?
Oh, but we all had roles,
Did someone talk you through it on the phone? Did you have someone on the phone?
Yeah, I satcommed Angus the first time the tiller went out. We grabbed the sat phone. It was Christmas Day night. It was the 25th of December at like 10:30 at night, and I rang Angus, our campaign manager, and we talked through it, and we got it all sorted out. And on our chart plotter, it was weird because after we get it sorted out, the chart plotter said we were headed 260 degrees, but the reports from on deck was like, hey, how come the wind is in our face now? It used to be in our back. Like, it just didn't make sense. We were 180 degrees out because we were still moving in the right direction, even though we were facing backwards. That's how big the water was. And so we had to resort that out because, you get focused on electronics. Hey, the electronics are telling you the truth. They're telling you the truth. But then you forget that you have these other senses. Like, how come the moon is in the opposite direction and we're not going in the right direction? And you're trying to figure all this shit out while you're working on no sleep and you're 14 days, 15 days into this friggin' race. And so that was where we were great as a team. People saw different things and we all communicated and sorted it all out.
So then 2 days later it breaks again, and you have to go in the water with wrenches?
No, we did it all from inside. Our tiller was coupled inside, and our rudder was through the hull into the inside of the boat, so we could do everything from inside the stern cabin.
Do you have anything ever crazy happen where you're changing this tiller and you have this bolt, you got one in your mouth, one in your hand, you're trying to thread it and it drops into the ocean?
No.
Or the wrench you have or the socket drops in the ocean and you're like, oh fuck.
We did have one. It was during this incident when the tiller broke, hard broke, and we're dead in the water. Well, the boat had went over and wanted to capsize, and the Concept 2 oars that we had built, one got pinned down and acted like this, and it bent the brace that the oar lock is sitting on. So this 3/8-inch steel brace that sticks out, and then the oar lock sits on top of it.
Yeah.
And it bent that. Angus had told us he's never seen one fail or break, which that tells you, like, Angus is like multiple world record holder at rowing oceans.
Dude, what if someone's arm or neck or something had been near there?
Right. So the plate bends and it breaks the oar lock. The oar lock is designed to break before the oar breaks, right? So the fact that the oar lock held for the brace to even bend, and the oar was phenomenal. Concept 2 made these custom oars for us.
What's to stop the oar from just flying overboard and losing it if the oar lock breaks?
It's leashed. We have a leash to it, which we didn't have actually on at the time. And Jim was able to grab it and catch it in time because I jumped off my station to go underneath and fix the auto tiller. Jim jumped on the rowing station when I jumped off, and when all this happened, so we're broached to the wave. The boat's rocking, tipping over. We think we're gonna roll, and then the oar goes.
You're
underneath.
Below deck when you think you're gonna roll.
Yeah, I had just gotten in.
Oh, dude. Oh,
and
bro.
So we ended up getting that all sorted out, and it's like 2 a.m, and Jim replaced the brace, so we cannibalized the third rowing station that we didn't use. So we pulled that one off, changed the oar lock and everything, and he ended up dropping a nut into the ocean. Oh. And I was like, fuck, but we had spares, so that was just a function of wrestling out our spares. But we had appropriate redundancy of essentials and some non-essentials too. We had some appropriate redundancy across the boat, and that's part of the experience that Angus brought to bear and the experience of the race itself, to say, hey, you need to have compulsory redundancy on these parts because something's going to happen while you're.
Did something happen in everyone's boat? Did you hear if shit happened on all sorts when you got back?
All sorts of stuff. Different.
Anyone
stuff
else lose an auto tiller besides
a couple auto tillers? But they again, everybody had 2 or 3 auto tillers. One boat completely capsized, and they had to get rescued. They spent 17 hours in the water,
and that boat never came back.
They finally salvaged it. I saw their tracker on shore, but we finished the race before that team that got rescued ever set foot back on shore, because they ended up going up to Canada because they got picked up by a merchant vessel, and then their boat was another 2 or 3 weeks before somebody went out there and picked it up.
Wow. I would love to have you back on again. I think there's more to sift through.
I like talking to you, man. It's cool to be held accountable to thoughts and stuff like that and memories, and it's good for me too. It's all part of processing. So, and I'll talk to you anytime. So,
what's next on your horizon in the upcoming weeks and days? Hunting trips, camps, programs.
Yeah.
seminars?
We've got 7 diesel days scheduled over the next 14 weeks. I've got 2 veteran retreats coming up. Kilo 37 is coming up to our ranch here for a veterans retreat, and I've got 3-5 going down to the XIT ranch in Texas for a 3-day retreat.
Is that ranch in Texas? Is that Bill's ranch?
No, this is Abby and Drew Knowles is the part of the original XIT ranch. It's incredible, the history of that ranch.
What does that stand for? XIT?
10 in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, back in a long time ago, something about, it's funny because I was just talking to Drew about that, about the brand and the history behind what the brand XIT is, and sent me a phenomenal story. It's really, really pretty cool. But and then I was listening to I was listening to a audio book. It's called The Endless Summer Moon or something like that. And it was all about the Comanches, and then in Texas, and the formation of, cattle industry and this and that. And I'm driving on my way down to the ranch to go see Bill at his ranch, to go to XIT. And they're talking about, like, I'm driving over a river, and they're mentioning it in the book. And it's like, holy shit. And there's all the historical signs on the state highways that I drive, and you pull over and you read the historical sign. And it's like, they just talked about it in the book 10 minutes ago, or an hour later, they talk about the historical sign that I read. It was really, really cool. But it was a great book. But anyways, we're taking some 3-5 guys down there for a retreat in Texas.
What are 3-5 guys? What are 3-5 guys?
3rd Battalion, 5th Marines.
Oh, okay. Currently, they're still in, or they're done?
Veterans, yeah.
Okay.
Bringing them back for like a reunion of sorts. It's a reunion, a healing retreat, some reintegration stuff. It's pretty cool. Do some camping. We do some fitness. We do some talking on a campfire. We do some labor on the ranch. Just generally have a good time with each other and share stories and company, and grow and re-strengthen some things so that everybody can keep moving forward in their life. It's part of the Big Fish Foundation and impacting against veteran suicide. It's preventative medicine. And then we have our big fundraiser coming up in June. We do an annual fundraiser here at our property, the Big Fish Foundation fundraiser. So this is our 4th one. Big
How do people participate in that? What does participation look like?
I bring in a veteran, one from each branch of service, and then I pair them up with an athlete or a celebrity or a personality like Josh Bridges or Hobart. I think conversations with Rich Froning right now, see if he's going to come out, and we pair them up, and we go through like a 30-hour workout to demonstrate teamwork, resiliency, and all the positive character values that come with persevering through hardship. And we do that at a big, like, kind of like a jamboree, sort of like a festival here at the house. We'll have like 40-50 people. I pay for a bunch of veterans to come in and be volunteers. And we do this as a program to invite each other into a collection of community of people, and just have a good time for a week. So that's coming up. We're getting ready to redo the website. It should be launched here in 2 weeks, the new website. So
opening with Taco, sharing those intimate stories, talking about reflecting on the trip and your relationship with the guys, all that stuff, the story on top of the building with the generals,
mm-hmm.
and reflecting on Paul. I really appreciate all of that. I think people really enjoy hearing that. I think people long to hear stories and tales about other men and men and women in their sort of, not only their hardship, but how they process it. And I'm just so glad that I got to sit here and hear them firsthand, and you sharing them with us. So thank you. All really super cool shit. I mean, people love that stuff, and I think they love it because it adds perspective and context to their life.
Cool. Yeah. I just want to provide value. Take it.
Yeah.
Anybody can take it or leave it.
You don't want attention just for showing your ass. You want to provide some value.
Yeah. It's strange. Strange these days.
I was telling someone the other day, I love attention, but I want to juggle like 6 balls, and I want to ride a unicycle. I don't want attention for attention's sake.
Yeah.
I want to do something.
Yeah. The inconsistency in that.
Yeah. I want to do something. Brother, thank you.
You bet, bro. Good to see you again.
You're
And
great.
give my best to Haley and the kids. And
Okay.
one of these days, we'll put a handshake and a hug on each other again.
Awesome. Yeah, you are a world-class hugger. Anyone who hugs you is stoked to get a hug from you.
Appreciate that.
All right. Tell Nicole I said hi, please.
Will do, brother. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Brian Chontosh, informally known as Tosh. I know, right? Right? Dude. Real life lessons that are fucking hard, whether he put himself in those situations consciously or unconsciously. Man, if you have a chance to hang with that dude, what a fucking treasure. Because I know that there's a huge entertainment component. Like, holy fuck, it's just fun listening to him talk. But dude, he can share shit, and he's processed shit that he can then share to like enrich your life, so you don't have to fucking go through some of that shit. It's awesome. Or more importantly, I think what his specialty is sharing those skills to help people get the most out of their own life, their current situation. He's dope. A great show, Tosh. Greatly appreciate your stories and the value you add to this earth. Yeah, dude. What great value. Hey, Matt, dude. Thanks again, Sevan. Once a great conversation, Matt Schindeldecker. Thank you for adding to it, dude. You're great. I fucking respect what you processed and then shared with the world after you processed it. It's dope. David Weed, awesome. Thanks, David. Means a lot to me. I know that you are a man of discernment that doesn't impress easy and has a very sensitive. I know you're a very sensitive man when it comes to the bullshit. And so for you to say awesome means a lot. It's cool. I'm getting to know you guys 2 years in. All right. Give it a couple months and have that dude back on. That's it's cool. He talks about he was talking kind of about insecurity and second guessing yourself. And when I have people like him on, I'm more I don't know what the right word is, but I want to do him justice for the experiences and vulnerability and detail and consciousness and poignancy, all that shit that he's bringing to the table. I want to make sure that I'm an adequate receptacle for that. So I always feel this huge sense of accomplishment doing a podcast with someone like Tosh. All right. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's anything going on tonight. But I have started lining up more podcasts. Oh, okay. Tomorrow I have a guy on that I've never met before. Sean Pastuch. Sean Pastuch. And if I'm being completely frank, I'm not sure exactly what the podcast is even going to be about. But it's a guy that I've through the DMs, I've made acquaintances with him. Okay. And then Friday, back to live call-in show. Then Saturday, live call-in show. Sunday, nothing. All right. Danielle Brandon. Yes. Okay. I'll bug. I need to bug Danielle Brandon. Okay. Yes. Back to COVID, Dix, and Vax tomorrow. No, probably not tomorrow. 2 more days before we get back to. I mean, I show a ton of titties too. How come it's always just like this fixation with the dicks? I haven't seen it, Robbie. I haven't seen it yet. I will look though. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jennifer. If you guys want me to look or consider someone for a podcast, please send me their IG always. If you just suggest someone and there's not and their IG's not on there, I'll usually just say thank you and move on. I need to see their IGs. I need to be able to at least click one click away and sort of examine them so I can make some sort of evaluation. Or something, a link to a YouTube video, their home phone number. All right, Brian Chontosh. Validating this podcast's worthiness. I will see you guys. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't do the did we do the thong song? I like that little bit of scratching in there. You hear it? Those are the shakers. And that's the scratching. Okay. See you guys tomorrow.